I don't think he's done any steroids. So on my side of things, like from the commentary space, feel like a lot of them don't reach out enough and just are like, hey,
all the time, yeah.
there you go. Yeah, I mean, as everyone in chat knows, okay, he goes at YouTube and these situations and celebrity stuff and politics from sort of a lawyer's perspective. Was it the Surf Times? Was what these documentaries were to like gay people on Twitter. Like they were so fucking big.
He can't touch it. So like, here's something I could totally imagine would happen to like, especially if he started YouTubing so long ago, that like a bunch of people accuse him of being a pedophile, and he's.
Greetings, guys. So as all of you know, I'm not a huge fan of Hasan Piker. I basically see the dude as a giant fraud who will preach one thing constantly on his streams, being socialism, and then lives the most capitalist lifestyle he possibly could. And in his mind, there's no disconnect between these two things whatsoever. But obviously there is a contradiction between believing in wealth redistribution and then personally hoarding all of your wealth, living the most capitalist lifestyle you possibly can. And when he does spend his money, it's on an expensive house or, a Porsche. Those things would be swag. Keep in mind, I think that stuff is cool, but he is him. Therefore, it is cringe. That being said, this is not the only criticism of Hasan Piker I have. In fact, it's probably the weakest criticism I could possibly have. The bigger criticism a lot of people have been talking about is Hasan's coverage of breaking news and how it does a very poor job, like with the Ukraine war.
What's up, folks? I'm live and alive, and we got a lot to talk about. I was right about Ukraine. That's right. War is not imminent. Oh, shocked. Shocked to find out. Anyway, we're going to talk about that and a bunch of other stuff, so get in now. Possibly a new React series as well, so you don't want to miss it. I think maybe I'll tell my editors to do this, but I think I'll just change I'll change this every day to Ukraine has still not been invaded by Russia.
He was making all of these videos, TikToks, Snapchat videos, streams, saying the war could never happen, it could never ever happen. And then when Russia did invade Ukraine, he sort of half-heartedly walked it back. He did apologize in a tweet from the time, which some would argue shows some goodwill, but in my opinion, that apology is only valid if his behavior changes, if he stops covering breaking news in that way, where he has an extremely strong prediction, an extremely strong viewpoint, and then gets called out and has to walk it back entirely. But unfortunately, his behavior did not change. Instead, he continued to cover breaking news in an irresponsible manner, where he would make a definitive statement saying one thing was true, and that would be something he could not possibly prove, like with the airstrike on a hospital in Palestine, which Hasan asserts was 1000% a malicious attack from the Israelis. And while it could be, we didn't know if it was. And he was making definitive statements saying it was definitely a war crime on part of Israel. He was doing like impromptu missile analysis, being like, I can definitely tell this is a JDAM because of this and this. And it's like, dude, you don't know what you're talking about. And when people would call him out for this in his chat or even, innocently question him, he would freak out at them and call them pigs because that's all he really has to say.
Baying pig, you bloodthirsty, violent pig dog.
I mean, he's really just losing it lately. And I really think incidents like this are slowly hitting away at Hasan's audience, where the viewers who do notice this crazy, irresponsible behavior are going to slowly be looking for other streamers like Destiny who are calling Hasan out. And he's someone who, from what I've seen, does at least try to do a better job at covering breaking news. Well, with all of this mounting criticism, someone was going to put together the pieces eventually into a video. And it finally came in the form of Willie Mac Show releasing Hasan, the worst politics streamer, wrong about everything. This is an hour-long video detailing the coverage Hasan has had on breaking news stories, and the basic criticism from Willie Mac, from a big picture perspective, is that Hasan will cover a breaking news story without knowing anything about it or doing any research. He's not a particularly informed or uniquely poised person to cover these issues. He'll distrust news outlets if they don't support the narrative he wants to hear, and that leads to a lot of blunders on his stream where he ends up looking really dumb.
You piece of you garbage, monstrous scumbag. You garbage, monstrous scumbag. You said IDF didn't bomb the hospital, and then you said it did. But Hamas was firing rockets from it in the same 2-minute time frame. So why did you lie at first? Huh?
Willie begins his video by talking about socialism and React content, which are two big blind spots for Hasan that he's gotten a lot of flack for from people like Destiny and myself. But he then gets further into the weeds with his coverage of breaking news stories and how Hasan feels about certain events happening where he's then proven wrong. And every single time, Piker still doubles down. Kind of like Nick is not green, honestly. These dudes' egos just tend to get in the way of their coverage to a massive degree, and it's kind of embarrassing to watch. You know, if you're covering stories like this, it's okay to have a bias, because everybody does, but that bias becomes a massive issue when you you let it completely affect your coverage of the facts and are unwilling to acknowledge the truth. And that's exactly what's happening with Hasan right now, and it's kind of leading to a little bit of a downfall. Not to say he's completely irrelevant or he's like, you know, on the verge of collapse, right? I mean, he's still getting decent stream viewers, especially compared to everyone else, but his viewership has fallen off quite a bit, and it seems like he's kind of reached a saturation point where now he's only bleeding viewers rather than gaining them. The trans people in sports debate is a contentious one in the world of athletics, and it's something that all the culture war guys like Tim Pool or the Quartering talk about a lot. Some people believe that trans women should not compete in a league with cis women because of the competitive advantage that can come with the gender they were assigned at birth. For example, a 6'3" man who transitions into a woman should not be able to compete in a league with cis women where the average height is around 5'5". Those extra 10 inches of height are a game changer in athletics, and for women who have been competing with cis women their entire lives, to have someone who is a man just a few years ago come in and demolish the entire competition is extremely frustrating and unfair. And I would agree trans people should not compete with cis people in athletics. I think they should have rights, to be clear. I'm not Mr. Gender Anger, guys. I don't really care what trans people do with their lives. I seriously don't. But they should not be competing with cis athletes. The advantage is too great, and to deny that is to deny science. But Hasan thinks that opinion is transphobic, and he's communicated that very, very ardently on his
You
stream.
garbage,
Stop, you're not making
monstrous
any good arguments. No,
transphobe.
the only reason why I'm not making any good arguments for you is because you are transphobic, and that's the unfortunate reality, and it's probably not going to
Garbage,
change.
monstrous
This guy didn't even say
transphobe.
anything hateful. He just didn't agree with Hasan, so now he's transphobic.
Or they're literally breaking records after records, not just participate. Wrong. You are wrong. You are making that up. You have read like 3 articles from like 3 random edge cases. You are wrong. Show me.
It's right there in front of you. Just read. When one of Hasan's trans fans would chime in and say that Hasan's doing a bad job arguing for trans people, Hasan can no longer just write them off as being transphobic. So instead, Hasan decides to be transphobic.
Here's the other part. Like, you, for the record, my issue as a trans person is the fact that you, a guy that isn't super well versed on trans, brought on a known transphobe knowing he might bring up transphobic shit. You aren't exactly a Vosh at trans debates. I hope that the rest of your life is as horrible as it is every single day, okay? There you go. Suck my dick. I despise you. I despise you more than anything else on the planet. You are fucking cancer, okay? You are cancer in this community, and you're cancer in every community. Suck my dick. For the past 15 months, you've been able to fucking hide in these ranks. You catboy. Move your catboy ass out of here. You are never welcome. You are never going to be unbanned. No matter how difficult it is, no matter how much you want to get unbanned, I will never unban you.
This is insane. To act like this because someone disagreed with you in your chat and not just ban them, but also go on a diatribe about how that person should be miserable forever, with no irony at all.
Get it
is
right,
insane.
he
This is not
embarrassed
getting
him.
a happy person. This makes me think Hasan is just miserable and spiteful. And this brings us all to Kyle Rittenhouse, the 17-year-old who killed 2 rioters in Kenosha, Wisconsin. When it was legally proven that he acted in self-defense, and he did, by the way, Hasan just went crazy, basically calling him a murderer. And if you know the facts of that case, you know there were 2 people threatening a 17-year-old kid who was holding an assault rifle, and they were attempting to actively harm him. He acted in self-defense. And I'm not one of these gun guys who are like, don't tread on me. I didn't really grow up around guns. I'm not a big gun enthusiast. But to me, from seeing the facts presented in this case, Kyle should not have been charged with murder. He acted in self-defense. And I mean, it went to court. He was acquitted. Despite that, Hasan just ignored all the facts, called him a murderer, and had a meltdown on stream like he always does.
Imagine risking your life for someone else's property. I mean, he wasn't even like technically risking his life. He was trying to get a legal kill. Like, that's what he was trying to do, and he got it. This is what happens when you get a fucking legal kill.
Bro, 3 people attempted to kill him. You've seen the videos. Kyle tried running away, but Hasan ignores all of that and just says it's the conservative fantasy, murdering people.
The greatest thing that could have happened to internet conservatives is this, because this is their fantasy. This is like the psychopathic, bloodthirsty fantasies that they've all had. Okay?
My understanding is that the property owners who have properties there choose just not to rent it at all.
Yeah, kill
As a
them.
result.
Kill those motherfuckers in a video game. Sorry. Holy shit. Murder those motherfuckers in the street. Let the streets soak in their fucking red capitalist bloods, dude.
Honestly, there's a study where it says that, you know, more cops actually die from suicide. I don't know, than gunfire and on the line of duty deaths.
What are you getting at?
Just nothing. I'm just saying, you know, let's get those numbers up, baby.
Hey, remember, it's everyone else who's bloodthirsty. Definitely not Hasan, who laughs when cops get killed.
Watch out, watch out.
Watch out! Are you okay? No, you shot me!
Is Hassan even truly mentally well? This isn't something you can excuse as like edgy teenage behavior. He's not making jokes. He just seems like a bloodthirsty dude who likes watching people die on video and laughs about it on stream. Like, if anybody else had done this on Twitch, they would be instantly banned. But because he's Hassan Piker, because he has the political viewpoint that's in the zeitgeist, he has good connections with Twitch, he's allowed to keep operating there. Not saying he should be banned, by the way, but like, considering that he's willing to do this kind of content on stream, but Destiny can't be on Twitch, it's kind of a big inconsistency on their part. And even beyond the obvious contradiction from the platform around censorship, how can someone defend violence like this when it's unjustified, and then when it's legally self-defense, say that it's like beyond the pale, terrible, disgusting, evil, conservatives are just bloodthirsty nut jobs? I mean, the fact that this dude has an audience as big as he does is unreal to me. But at the same time, this is how his fans feel as well. This is the kind of thing his viewers want to cheer on, and so of course he's going to have that big of an audience. You know, these are the kinds of people you see on Twitter every single day. It's kind of blackpilling to realize that a large portion of the population thinks that indiscriminately killing police officers is a good thing. I don't think these people are mentally well or live in the real world as functioning members of society. I would venture to say they have like no real life experience, and they're just making these claims because they're so detached from these situations that when they hear a Twitch streamer espouse an opinion that cops are bad, therefore we shouldn't feel bad when anything bad happens to them, despite the fact they are, you know, people too, just like you and I. They are people with thoughts and families, and they're not all terrible people either. But obviously, like, this is the kind of opinion that Hassan's audience likes. This is what he espouses on a stream. This is the kind of audience he's built. And the amazing breaking news coverage does not end there. When there was an attack on a U.S. base, Hassan immediately said it was an inside job by the CIA.
Wait, what? Attack on U.S. consulate in Iran happening now? False flag. 100%. MEK false flag. MEK actors. 0% chance that is so fucking sussy. Oh no. Oh, that's what's going on in Iraq, the American base that was under attack? No fucking shot. When I say MEK, I just mean CIA. I said MEK, but I mean CIA. Rumors saying the missiles were launched from Iran? I mean, dog. Come on, bro. Like, come the fuck on. You think... Like, think about this. The Iranian government, after, like, years of crippling sanctions, despite fucking following the denuclearization agreements under Donald Trump, still got more sanctions and still got fucked over time and time again, who are still trying to, according to the U.S. State Department, very close to finalizing the denuclearization deal this week, ends up fucking bombing an American base? Like, really, dude?
Now, to be clear, the CIA has done some disgusting shit. There's no denying that. MK Ultra, for example. Pretty cringe, guys. Pretty not cool. Cringe, but I feel like there should be some standard of evidence when you're trying to be a serious political news commentator. He's not even just memeing, right? He's not even like a history guy. He's trying to be a genuine political news commentator who covers breaking stories. And when you're covering these stories, if you want to sincerely make an accusation of government conspiracy, well, some sort of evidence is needed. Hassan had none. But as Willie points out, Hassan then calls his viewers who question this narrative insane warmongers who are also racist.
Yes, dude, I'm wrong, okay? It's probably Iran. You're right. It's probably Iran fucking blowing shit up for no reason. You're right. Let's believe that instead. You got it. It's Iran doing it 100%. Iran's the one doing it. They're irrational. God damn it, dude. I'm so annoyed. Like, one fucking dub for the American intelligence, and they never shut the fuck up. These goddamn stupid, pathetic little sniveling cowards living in the imperial core that regularly are like, I love war! I love war!
Well, with the appetizers out of the way, Willie moves on to the main courses, because everything we've covered so far has just been the appetizers, okay? We're gonna get to the entree. The Israel-Palestine conflict has been super contentious online. Dun, dun, dun! Some people like Israel, some people like Palestine. Personally, I have no stake. I'm not someone who really cares about this conflict because it's just so detached from me. I don't know any Israelis. I don't know any Palestinians, so my investment is at an all-time low. But for Hassan, he's constantly riled up about this, and this heat, this energy led him and Ethan Klein to basically end the Leftovers podcast, which they had been doing for years, because Ethan was not totally condemning every Israeli and saying that they deserve to die. Meanwhile, Hassan just thought that was too far, so he had to get in there real quick and remind Ethan what his position truly was. And then Hassan's crazy audience starts harassing Ethan too. And it seems now that the podcast is probably not coming back anytime soon.
Everyone in my circle, all the leftist people that I watch, that I'm part of, that watch this show, because I consider myself a part of that side, are all pretty much uncritically accepting of Hamas propaganda and uncaring about the rewriting of history right before our fucking eyes about this stuff. So I'm not seeing a lot of people, even though you might look at the popular media and say, everybody's supporting Israel. The popular media's defense of Israel is cartoonishly dumb and evil. Burn them all to the ground. They have a right to defend themselves. Bomb Gaza, like psycho okay? But on the left, I don't see anyone saying what I'm saying right now. I just see the opposite. And so that's why I feel that I need to say it. If you're going to extrapolate from this that I don't care about Palestinians dying, then you're definitely reading way too far into this. And you're also, in my opinion, really callous.
Well, as it turns out, Hassan's coverage of breaking news around this conflict has been pretty questionable on his own streams. Instead of reading articles for sources, he reads tweets from random Twitter accounts to get his information, which is always a great way to get the most facts about anything, right? I mean, you guys all know. You know me. If I need to prove anything, I trust a random Twitter account because they are definitely going to be credible.
Update from 8 minutes ago. Between 200 and 300 people killed in Gaza hospital airstrike according to Hamas-run health ministry from 1 hour ago. Wait, what? No, the number is like 800 now.
His source for discrediting this outlet is a tweet he found.
The number is now at 887, according to on-the-ground reports. My friend in Gaza tells me, I smell the death now. After Israel violently kills more than 877 Palestinians in the Al-Ahli Arab Hospital in the center of Gaza City. It's a Christian hospital. There's a church next to it, too. Both are destroyed.
He actually has no idea if they're destroyed.
And obviously, I'm not saying mainstream media sources are completely correct. I'm not trying to shill for them. They get things wrong all the time and have to issue retractions. And it's worth pointing out when they do, and their credibility should be called into question as well. I'm not a huge fan of CNN or MSNBC or Fox News or whoever reports things like this because they do get things wrong. They do. However, to immediately distrust them and immediately trust a Twitter account with 1,000 followers over them with no credibility, no background in journalism, no evidence, who is claiming themselves to be getting this information second or third hand, supposedly, is ridiculous. When you cover breaking news, it's okay to report the facts that you can confirm, and for the rest, you should just say, I just don't know what happened here because it's unconfirmed. If you don't know, then that's the right thing to do, actually. The right thing is not to just claim you know the truth because of some intrinsic third eye inside your mind, which we all don't have access to. I'd love to know where Hassan's sources are, does he have on-the-ground people covering it? With the money he has, he could definitely afford to send a journalist out there with some money, with some security. He could afford to send someone out there to get information about conflicts on the ground, but for some reason, he hasn't done that, and instead he'd rather just read Twitter, I guess.
Gazan factions have a rocket powerful enough to be able to wipe out their own hospital. They do not. They do have rockets, and sometimes there are failed launches, but a failed launch on a fucking rocket is not going to be able to destroy an entire hospital. They do not have the firepower capabilities of destroying an entire fucking hospital.
And then he becomes a ballistics expert with a focus on missiles and how they sound, being able to instantly determine who fired it with nothing but a low-res cell phone video. My bad, I guess I forgot that Hassan Piker served 3 tours in Iraq and has ordnance training and has a lot of experience in this field. Dude knows everything. He's a missile expert, and we should be taking his coverage as fact. I honestly shouldn't even be talking about this. I'm speaking out of turn because he's the expert.
Okay, I'm gonna put this side by side. I want you to fucking understand something, okay? So that is a JDAM called on.
Called on.
Do you think that? That seems similar to one another? Also, not a ballistics trajectory expert, but that JDAM came from super high up. If you look at the actual confirmed video of the bombing, you know that neither of these parties have the capability of dropping a bomb like this on themselves, even by accident or deliberately. They do not have this capability. You have no evidence. Stop concluding. What is this? What am I looking at? What am I looking at with my own 2 eyes? What are you looking at? I have no evidence? Don't believe your fuck. What do you mean?
If I ever speak this confidently about something I know literally nothing about, please dump a bucket of cold water on my head so I can wake up from being so stupid. And the funniest part of this whole thing is eventually when more concrete reporting came out, we saw that I guess the hospital strike was not nearly as bad as initially reported and the casualties were far lower. And now Hassan has egg on his face, but he's still in denial of the truth and basically obsessed with reporting this misinformation. He came to a conclusion from the beginning. He had in his mind what he wanted to be true, and he needed it to be true. And when it wasn't, he refused to truly walk it back. This situation perfectly demonstrates demonstrates the problem with covering breaking news on a stream like that. Now keep in mind, if Hasan every time this happened like corrected the record, I wouldn't be nearly as hard on him here. But he doesn't really correct the record, nor does he change his behavior. He just knows what he wants to believe, he knows what his audience wants to hear, and he's willing to deliver that propaganda product as long as there are people watching. And if he were to acknowledge the truth at any point, he's already in too deep. His audience would just eat him alive because they don't want to hear the truth. They want to hear what they already think.
Did not have any details on the reported bombing. You, dude. Why are you... It's ridiculous. Like, oh, Hamas run health ministry. Well, you know how they are. You know how those dirty Arabs are. They lie all the time. You know what I mean? They're probably lying again. Meanwhile, well, the Israeli military said that it did not have any details. Okay, got it.
Like, who is this imaginary person that exists in his head? Anytime someone calls him out in his reporting, his only response is to discredit their opinion by painting him as racist. He doesn't actually care about the truth at all. What he cares about is his side looking good, him looking good, and being able to demonize anyone who questions him. It honestly seems like a part of some deep-seated insecurity or something, because he gets super pressed when questioned at all, and I find it pretty embarrassing to watch. His ego is so inflated, he's so attached to his side being right, that he's in complete denial when actually proven to be wrong. And he has the audacity to say he relies on the facts of the matter to determine the truth.
Despite the evidence, he's still 90% leaning towards Israel being guilty.
My metric of who is responsible for a bombing is not what the IDF says, okay? And it's not
let's
even
play some
necessarily
fucking
what
Hades.
Hamas or Hamas-backed people or people on the ground say. What I care about is the facts of the matter. Facts of the matter made me lean 90% on the Israeli side, assuming that this is an Israeli bombing yesterday. Okay, I still maintain the position that it is more likely.
It's so painful for him to give this update.
However, the reality is that now, after looking at all of the new evidence, bomb site that we can lay eyes on, the Israeli counterclaim of this being a Islamic Jihad or potentially a Hamas rocket misfiring is not as unlikely as it was yesterday.
It was
Come here,
just as
booty.
likely yesterday.
What facts? Because all you did here was ignore the facts of the situation and make up your own reality in your head that reflected the narrative that you wanted to push. And this easily leads to the worst trait about Hasan. If you criticize him, he immediately attempts to disarm you by insulting your character and painting you to be unreliable, rather than actually addressing what you're saying. Because he knows he cannot address the actual points that people have against him, because he is wrong. He will get destroyed in the marketplace of ideas.
Are you schizophrenic, or did your head get cut off? Because you sure sound brainless when you come in here and shadowbox. What the is wrong with you? I have never said that.
Said that resistance to apartheid is always imperfect.
What the hell are we doing here? You bad faith, apartheid defending, bloodthirsty, genocidal freak.
The video by Willie Mac Show is an hour long. I highly recommend you watch it if you're interested. It's a really methodical dissection of Hasan's misdeeds. Well, with his video getting a bunch of views, with a follow-up video he did about Hasan, with the video he did a year ago about Hasan's Ukraine coverage, with streamers like Destiny taking notice, there was a lot of heat on him at the time. And so he finally decided to debate Willie on the subject, when he challenged him to a conversation. Funnily enough, this debate opens with Hasan admitting he'd never even watched the video at all, but I guess he still wanted to have a conversation, which of course allowed Willie to easily lead it with the point that Hasan never researches the things he talks about on stream before he talks about them. Now, Hasan tries to justify this by calling it drama farming and saying Willie is just a drama leech.
Do you really consider me watching a fucking dumbass video from a drama farming channel to be doing research? I don't need to do research
this is what you're
on a
talking
video.
about. You're going into a topic you don't know anything about.
And basically, Hasan is acting like he's totally above this kind of content, which is very ironic because Hasan covers drama as well. He covers e-celeb drama, and he also does bottom-of-the-barrel reaction content where he watches TV shows other people have made and adds nothing. Like, to be clear, I don't think drama content is like high art. It's not. It's absolutely not. I mean, I guess it can be if you're like Gokanaru or I guess iDubbbz back in the day, but in general, like drama stuff is like TMZ bull. But I don't think that should bother you unless you're truly making something truly artistic and amazing, which Hasan does not do. He just makes the same exact slop. Ironically, Hasan calls his video a drama video, but the entire thing is just Willie correcting the misinformation that Hasan has spread. I honestly think it's better to cover drama stuff if you do it right than to cover serious breaking news and do it wrong. Willie covers all of the breaking news stories that Hasan has covered in the past while in this hour-long video better than Hasan has in his entire career. But once again, this drama leech accusation just plays into the villainizing criticism part part of Willie's video. Hassan's tendency to try and discredit anyone who he cannot argue with. And he basically just spends the next 5 minutes insulting Willie while also cutting him off, calling his video bad, he hasn't seen it, acting like it's beneath him to even watch it or have the conversation, and getting butthurt about him being called out over his Ukraine take. And keep in mind, this was not like a planned thing. Willie came on because Hassan called him out randomly to debate him. Willie manages to keep his cool though, even with Hassan being like,
"You don't remember your other video from a year ago? You didn't even prepare? You know nothing."
Completely like.
It's your video about me. These should be so simple for you to be like, this is where you lied. Just say it. We already established that the first thing you did was wrong.
Alright, you gotta give me a minute.
Okay. Are you trying to link me your video? I'm not gonna watch your video. Just say it with your mouth, with your words. Go ahead.
I have to watch my video to see what my receipt is, because this is a year old. Right? I didn't know where.
You don't even know your own video. You don't know the content of your own video.
I made it
really?
a year ago, bro.
You think you're doing a good job right now? Do you think you're doing a good job right now, defending your position? Like it's such a profound position. It's such a profound position that you don't even remember your own talking points.
And the whole time, this other dude is just in the background, awkwardly looking at the floor, like sweating, while he listens to Hassan yell into his microphone. But finally, they get to the meat of the situation, and it's basically Hassan dodging the questions while Willie tries to smash him over the head.
We're having a conversation about Ukraine and Russia. We're having a conversation about Ukraine and Russia, and I'm asking you a specific question. I'm asking you a specific question.
My conversation's about you, because my videos are about you and your pattern of behavior and your poor reporting, and now you're trying to shift it all these other ways because you know you can't face the truth.
Russia had not bombed Kiev at the time. That's number one. Number two, of course, as soon as that did happen, I covered it. Of course I did, because that's what I'm doing.
The criticism isn't that you didn't cover it. The criticism is that you're making baseless claims you don't know anything about, talking so confidently, as if you got a whole research team behind you, when you don't. You're talking out your ass. This is the
brother. Do you have a whole research team behind you? Because you're not.
Me. I actually did research just now, and you could barely be patient enough to sit there and listen to it. You had to go ahead and
it's a video. You made a video a year ago about me talking about like my opinion on Russia and Ukraine. You personally do not have an opinion on Russia or Ukraine at all. I have taken accountability on my. I've taken accountability on the things that I've reported wrong.
You should do the research. If I'm not willing to
I have taken accountability on the things that I have reported wrong on.
Wars when you can't do the
Willie No Script. Listen to me. I've taken accountability on the things that I have said that are incorrect. Of course, on the editorial perspective, on the editorial side of my coverage, okay, on the editorial side of my coverage, if I make a prediction or a speculation, it can sometimes be wrong. That speculation is always going to be on foundational analysis that is solid.
I got another one too. Hey, I got just more examples.
Do you have an issue with do you have an issue with my analysis of the situation? Because I can't possibly do research on things that haven't happened yet. I can simply speculate.
You just make it up.
And this entire do you think when I say, guys, I don't think that Russia will bomb Kyiv is actually in your opinion, like me making up something, or do you think it's speculation?
No, the clip is actually you talking really condescendingly about people who think that could happen. That's the clip.
Okay, but yeah, okay. You don't. So is this all just tone policing? Is that what it is? Is this all? So all of this is just you personally tone policing the way I'm.
No, it's not tone policing. It's about your.
Do you have any genuine interest or any curiosity in like Russia and Ukraine at all, or is all you do in drama farming off of clips? Because over the course of this entire conflict, I've dedicated tens or hundreds of hours into my coverage, and the analysis in and of itself comes from a solid foundation. Now, the predictions might be wrong, and it certainly was, which is something that I took accountability for, even though you said I had not. So here's my question to you.
You then just did the same mistake again. Did you look into,
okay, what sources I was looking at and where I was getting this opinion from?
Yeah, there were sources
beyond just like looking at YouTube clips and regurgitating talking points, specifically that you've heard from other like neoliberal commentators and whatsoever.
And keep in mind when he says neoliberal commentators, he's referencing Destiny here, who Hassan has a deep deep hatred for, to the point where his name is like Voldemort. You can't even say it in his chat. He doesn't say his name on stream. And Hassan tries to act like he created the whole Twitch politics space, which is like combining video games and internet culture with politics.
I just made my own choices and built my own business model, I guess, if I were to use a term like that. I paved it on my own because I thought, like, this is a concept that I think is cool, gaming. This is a concept that I think you can marry with gaming, political commentary. My church background also gave me a very different perspective on America's involvement in world affairs. Most Americans don't recognize this or know this, but like,
outside of America, you know, people kind of look at Americans as like psychos, because we are. We're psychos. We're bloodthirsty psychos.
When in reality, he just ripped off what Destiny was already doing, which is, by the way, what all the Twitch politics people did. I don't even care that they did that, but like, if you're gonna use that format, you can't pretend like you're the first person to do it. You gotta pay homage to Stephen Vanell II, okay? You got it. You gotta
put respect on his name. It is actually Mel time, and you will respect that.
And now Hassan won't even say his name out loud because he's scared of talking to him, because he knows it would be the first time a 5'6" man has ever gotten a 6'4" guy in a rear naked choke until he taps on a Twitch stream. And it's funny that Hassan's only point is Willie could not remember a video he made a year ago about Hassan. For context, Willie Maxwell put out a video about 1 year ago where they focused on the Ukraine-Russia conflicts that Hassan was talking about, and then he did this more recent video about Hassan as a whole, with that included as a smaller point. And then Hassan himself, who was like criticizing Willie for not remembering this video, could not remember when he claimed that the CIA faked a missile attack on a US base.
What base are you talking about? I don't even know what you're talking about with the Iranian thing. What?
Iran struck a U.S. base, and then you said it's the CIA. No shot, it's the CIA.
Wait, I'm so...
I know, you don't know, because you spew so much bullshit all the time, you can't even remember what
perhaps.
Wow, you don't remember something from a year ago. Crazy, because when I did that, I got nailed to the cross fork. When you do it, it's no problem. Cool. What's frustrating is no matter how many examples I bring up of Hassan jumping to conclusions when it comes to breaking news, he always frames himself as coming from a sound place. So for instance, like the missile hit the Gaza hospital, both sides blamed each other. That's the breaking news, right? And instead of waiting for more information, you jump to conclusions saying it was 100% Israel. 100%.
Okay.
So
good point.
All the
Good point. When I said that, I didn't just go, oh, I have no other opinion on this matter. I simply think Israel definitely did this because I want Israel to have definitely done this. The reason why I said this, and you do this regularly, okay? When I say something on this stream, okay, oftentimes, especially if it's a developing story,
how do you know I say this stuff?
Especially if it's a developing story, when I say something on an issue that is happening, I look to all of the circumstantial evidence on the matter. You're bringing this up, and this is really important to understand. One, all of the circumstantial evidence.
You say that every time, but it never is.
Okay, all of the circumstantial evidence at the time, of course, after the 6,000 bombs that Israel had dropped on Gaza, a densely populated open-air prison, the 6,001st bomb, understandably, was going to be an Israeli bomb. To this day, we still do not know whether this was an Islamic Jihad rocket that was misfired, or whether or not this was actually an artillery shell that might have hit a fuel tank, or even some other kind of munition that Israel may have deployed.
So why did you say it was
now,
100%
the reason why
Israel and then call everyone genocidal freaks that disagree with you?
You don't actually watch the content beyond...
You demonize them.
Because... First of all, because they are.
And there it is.
Thankfully, they do manage to talk about the missile attack on the Gaza hospital at one point, and Hassan tries to act like he sometimes is wrong, but he always makes sure to give fair coverage to every side and do his due diligence given the information he has. And I mean, for that, you just can do like you can literally imagine the clip in your mind of like the wait till you see the and then you just like roll the clip to see how ironic this thing is.
If I make a prediction or a speculation, it can sometimes be wrong. That speculation is always going to be on foundational analysis that is solid. IDF didn't bomb the hospital? Yes, it did! Yes, it did! Yes, it fucking did! You fucking piece of Yes, it absolutely did. Fuck you. Fuck you. You genocidal scumbag. You have no dignity. You do not have an ounce of dignity inside of your soul. But it doesn't matter. Terrible that the people died, but I encourage you to look into where Hamas was firing. You piece of shit. You garbage, monstrous scumbag. You garbage monstrous scumbag. You said IDF didn't bomb the
Garbage
hospital, and then you
monstrous
said it did.
scumbag.
Still a piece of genocide denier. 100%. But no, it is not a fucking misfire.
And during the entire stream, Hassan is making these asides where he tries to tie Willie to some political movement to discredit him to his audience. For example, he randomly invokes Gamergate and compares Willie to the members of Gamergate, whatever that means, who like doxed female journalists.
Care about the truth and honesty in journalism, like you're a fucking Gamergate holdout, being like, oh, I care about the ethics in video game journalism. That's why we have to dox these fucking female journalists or some shit.
I didn't dox anybody, bro. What are you talking
I
about?
didn't say that. I'm using. Do you know what a fucking analogy is? Dumb.
I honestly don't know what Gamergate is.
Where did this even come from? Dude's mind is truly an enigma. Scrambled eggs inside there, just sloshing around in his mind with buzzwords. And this is the problem. All this dude has is just these weird insults. And then he calls it an analogy, as if that analogy is not totally off base, unrelated. Overall, this debate really just went on to validate all the points Willie made in his video initially. From Hassan avoiding any accountability, deflecting any argument he can into some unrelated issue, using insults to discredit his opponent so he doesn't have to address the actual substance and meat of the situation. It was embarrassing for him.
If there's a deployment, like an activation that Israeli munitions have, that can detonate way before it impacts the ground.
It seems to me like people may finally be waking up to how dumb Hassan Piker truly is. Unfortunately, once his stream dies, we'll probably see a conservative dude on the other side be just as crazy as he is. It will be the sort of Uno reverse of the situation, but that's always how it works, really. You know, you kind of get these crazies on both extreme ends of the political spectrum. Regardless, it's been good to see Hassan get called out on this behavior. Hopefully it keeps happening in the future. I would guess if someone were to watch through Hassan's past 6 years of streaming, you would probably find one of these instances a week where Hassan engages in ridiculous stuff. And that's just the way the cookie crumbles in Hassan world, you know. For all of these sort of super far left political streamers, facts don't really matter. What matters is propaganda, and they're all following the lead of the biggest guy in the business. And make no mistake, it is a very, very profitable business. But who knows? Maybe this whole thing will actually teach him a lesson and it'll change his behavior, even if not for like you know, virtuous reasons. Maybe he just will get sick of being called out. No, actually he won't. Sorry to disappoint. Anyway, thanks for watching my video. Hope you all enjoyed. Check out Willie's work in the description below. He made some great videos about this. And yeah, I'll see you all tomorrow. Bye. And be sure to become a member. For $5 a month, they get the members only podcasts and exclusive videos that only members get. Thanks so much for your support.
You're not gonna do the Ben Shapiro line on redlining, right?
Did Ben Shapiro make that argument on redlining?
A reanalysis of that information.
Oh, he's not denying redlining, but he's using a very crude analysis. And he's trying to say that
redlining was an evil and awful policy.
Financial institutions were perfectly valid in not giving black people loans because they think that black people are what, culturally inferior? And
oh, actually, I'm sorry. It's not even that he misquotes him. Hassan just straight out lies. Ben Shapiro explicitly says that redlining was a horrible and bad and evil policy.
Winning over this group, Destiny, you did it.
He's so mad about my one. Progressives come out and say, well, they don't have a choice but to riot or break into the store, or, well, they're stealing, you know, these electronics or shoes for...
I hate how fucking reductive this take is. It is so unimaginably stupid and reductive, but it doesn't matter. America is a white supremacist nation, and no matter what happens, reductive takes like this.
Yeah, my take is reductive. By the way, America is a white supremacist nation. America is a white supremacist nation. America is a white supremacist nation.
For the record, before people freak the out, guys, Destiny,
why would they?
The gnome that is in front of your screens.
Wait, why is he poisoning the well so hard already?
Destiny, the gnome that is in front of your screens, okay, has a metric ton of uptakes.
Like what?
Specifically as it pertains to race issues, yada, yada, yada.
What are my
None of that matters when he is performing in a contrarian manner against black conservatives. In a contrarian manner against black conservatives. Everyone in his audience will understand this. Most of his haters who have seen any of his content will understand this as well. I'm sure he...
What an unbelievable summary. So Destiny has some crazy race takes. Like what? Which is funny as... Unlike Hassan here, who thinks that black people are stealing Nikes to redistribute to the wealth of the common good of the neighborhood. Okay, those are Hassan's race takes.
You only see the looting of Target. You don't see the redistribution of the goods that they took from Target back to the community.
And that I'm only a contrarian? So what, if you stick me in front of a bunch of Nazis, I'll turn into a communist? What a stupid fucking statement, but okay, that's cool. Poison the well, chief. Does Hassan have to say all this shit because he's terrified his audience might side with you a little? But I think one of his biggest fears is that, like, his audience will see me say things, and then they'll be like, wait, hold up. Destiny doesn't sound that crazy. Or why do we hate this guy again? I think that's, like, his biggest fucking fear. So he has to kind of, like, prep them. Like, okay, hold up. Now, you might hear Destiny say some things that don't sound super crazy, but let me remind you, okay? Let me remind you in 52 different ways how he's actually, like, one of the worst people ever.
He is so incredibly like geared towards being contrarian. So
yeah.
Yes, no matter what, he will absolutely
okay.
most likely rip the black conservatives a new asshole in a way that many of you will probably agree with, and maybe in some ways that he won't, regardless of what you know about his background or what you know about his own perspective. The worst aspect of this, for me in particular, or for many of you that enjoy my content,
I'm so curious if people can't see how transparent the identity or the character assassination is. Like, it's so obvious that he's just trying to poison the well, right? Like, listen, now we're gonna listen to a guy called Destiny, and listen, you might think that he's not an unhinged, racist f***ing loser. Okay, you might think that, but he is. Trust me. Like, that's unreal.
is that anytime he gains like a level of prominence off of something, he will inevitably use that to be like, also Hassan, let's cut millions of videos about how shitty he is.
Millions! You're the largest political streamer on Twitch. Why do you think that makes you immune to being called out? It doesn't make any sense, right? Like, how obsessed is Hassan about, like, Ben Shapiro or Andrew Tate or Tucker Carlson or any of the other 50 million conservative people that he talks about constantly, right? Like,
but no matter what happens, I'm going to obviously be objective about his performance here.
Yeah, right. But as a passive viewer, you just kind of take it in, though, and not question what he says. You're giving his viewers too much credit to be able to question his... No, I agree. The most... ironically enough, most of the girls that end up messaging me come from Hassan's stream. And I usually ask them exactly the question, like, how the f*** did you go from watching Hassan to me? Because it's like, we're so different politically. And almost every single conversation is usually like, oh, well, I'd heard Hassan mention you on stream before, but I didn't really know anything about you. I just assumed you were crazy. And then, like, a video got linked in the YouTube recommendation, or I saw something, and it seemed like you were way more reasonable than I'd originally heard. So the vast majority of people that, well, I'm assuming that the vast majority of Hassan's fan base that has, like, incredibly negative opinions of me, usually it's just because they've heard Hassan talking to me, but they've never actually seen anything I'm saying. Which, ironically enough, kind of goes back to that article I wrote about Vosh, the manifesto section that included him, about the simulacrum thing, the idea that the negative version of me that exists in a lot of people's heads is just a caricature that's been created of me by these other content creators that don't actually directly engage with anything that I'm saying, which is, like, very, very, very funny to me. Yeah. Do you agree that your average fan that only sees Hassan from your content also has a disproportionate negative view of Hassan? No, because something that I do is different than most content creators. I've noted this of Hassan and Ian, is I will show you the full video that I'm reacting to. More often than not, when I see a 20-second clip that somebody's asked me to react to, I'm usually always saying, like, okay, hold on, let's find, like, the full context of what he said. What is this from? There's no way that Hassan actually meant this. So there's no, like, for instance, when that skin thing came up, there was a 30-second clip of Hassan calling somebody a skin, which is a really common racial slur for Indians on 4chan. But there's no way that Hassan is using racial slurs for any of you. I don't believe that. And when I went back and I found the VOD, I was like, well, let's see. What did Hassan actually say? It was pretty obvious from the context that he was calling like a virgin pimply-faced kid. He just meant that as like a nerd guy. He called that guy a shit skin. He wasn't using it as a racial slur for Indians, right? So I don't understand this at all. I don't know what happened. I don't know why this word is even in his vocabulary.
If another one of you 14-year-old pasty little shit skin dumb motherfucker, dude.
He corrected himself afterwards to this. Nice clip, Chimp, whoever did that. I don't know. Yeah, this is like it's like a slur for Indians on 4chan. I have no idea why it's even like, I don't even know why that's in his vocabulary. I super don't understand.
Out of a malicious reason. I think he's saying that when I make fun of like pasty little skin incels, I am going to less likely to turn. I'm going to be less likely at.
Oh no. Oh no. I understand now. A light bulb just exploded in my brain. I understand. He saw that slur somewhere, and I think he thinks that like pit skin just means like having acne. And it makes sense because he uses it in context of like pasty, like. I understand now. I think the difference is that usually when I'm criticizing people, I'll sit here and I'll watch an hour or 2 hour, or I'll give you the full context of the video. And then you can also, I mean, like, I'm sure there are some people that listen to me and they don't even critically engage with people I criticize, which sucks and it's unfortunate. But I think I try harder to have a fair view of the people that I criticize than the people that view me. The brothel is probably the closest I've come to being bad faith about his son, but it was because he accused me and my fan base of all being Nazis. Him, okay? I mean, like, obviously I shouldn't. I was angry, but like, it's also like that's in response to him literally making shit up over and 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 over again. If the Lav accusations had happened with the roles reversed, he would have never defended. Yeah, true. That's true as well. I defended Hasan. Not only did I defend Hasan through the Lav accusation, I didn't even let Lav initially leak those accusations on my stream. And I told Zerka and Trainwrecks that they also probably shouldn't leak those allegations because I was pretty sure they weren't true. So yeah, and I would never, ever, ever, I would never get that courtesy back from Hasan or Vosh, but that's just the reality of the world I live in. Yeah.
That Hasan nuke?
Which one?
That never went off?
That's not real. I'm almost positive that's not real. I would just tell you to be.
Yeah, I thought it was way too much.
Yeah.
But again, why would someone say that?
Well, because they have every incentive to.
Oh, I just. Wait, did you talk to them?
I just know. You just have to trust me. There are a few things I would say I know, and I know this one. Okay.
Jones, I'm about to drop a Hasan nuke.
Uh-oh.
Whoa.
No,
Damn it
stop.
to me. Damn it.
Stop
Damn
doing
it to
that.
me.
No.
Lav, you're going to end your whole fucking career on this shit. Don't do it. Not in a good way. Literally, it's not worth it.
I know.
So
but every
stop.
time his name is brought up, I'm like vibrating.
Stop. No,
Wait,
you shouldn't be.
wait.
Stop.
Wait, do you not
Just
like
know-
Hasan?
Just know Hasan is well known in Los Angeles.
No.
Okay, hold on. Let's chill.
Steven,
Let's
come on.
chill. Let's chill. Let's chill.
Hasan's talking about Lav. We got to hop over and listen for a minute.
Okay, go for
Anything
it.
else
Go
for us?
for it.
Okay.
Light this fucking friendship on fire with the other person. I'm gonna betray her confidence, and I'm gonna lie about her age. How insane is that?
Has decided to be a bit more cloak and dagger about their true opinions of black people and be more.
Yeah, and wait, what are Republicans doing in that situation then? I love this take. White liberals are just as racist as white conservatives. They just like will soft pedal it. One of the very famous ways that white liberals in particular engage in like super racist.
Also, remember, when Hasan is saying white liberals is an insult, liberal is an insult that Hasan can use because he considers himself a lefty. So he's better than liberals and conservatives because he's a lefty. Lefties are anti-liberal. They don't care about things like personal freedoms and capitalism and all that dumb shit, right? They just believe in communism and socialism, whatever cringe shit. So when Hasan is criticizing liberals, he's excluding himself and his audience from this. Keep that in mind. Hold on, I'm sorry. You're an absolute retard when it comes to leftists, but I give you your Twitter broken brain. I'm sorry, Isaac, what do you think I said that was just incorrect?
Gay people or trans people or black women. And that in and of itself is, of course, a phenomena that exists in every community, but singling out black people and then making it seem as though it's a issue specifically with black men or a part of black culture in and of itself is just a more appropriate way, a more civil way for the same kind of white supremacist attitudes and sentiments to be expressed by liberals as well as racist white people on the Republican side of the spectrum.
Yeah. So again, remember, liberals, Destiny, the idea that leftists don't care about individual freedom, socialism, and people's individual liberties are in no way incompatible. Okay, Isaac, that's cool that you believe that, and that's your own personal brand of whatever you want to argue about. But generally, far left-leaning people fight against liberals because, broadly speaking, liberals care a lot about things like freedom of speech, freedom of religion, personal property rights, capitalism, personal enterprise. These are things that liberals, broadly speaking, tend to care about. People on the left don't care about that. The leftists don't care about that because they're more interested in like social equity through like relationship between laborer and capital, right? So they'll fight against things like private enterprise or capitalism or private investment, like stuff like that. Broadly speaking, I'm right. If you want to get into the weeds over arguing that, you can, but I don't know why the f you would even waste your.
It's just still stereotyping. It's just done in a more like liberal way.
I want to make sure we're clear. Giving them money hurt them, right? Is that what you're saying?
Well, yes, giving them, because if your father's out of the home, that's when we give you the money. If you're living in this housing,
so then give them the money while the dad's
rent-free,
well, then give them the money while the dad's in the home.
If you're working this amount of hours and getting less than this amount.
That's such a good response. Holy shit! So he's like, okay, give him money while the dad's in the home. Biden hat is in the chat. Oh, it's Alec Gunter. Oh shit! I remember you. Who's that handsome guy in the red shirt and the Hunter Biden hat? Thanks for saying you like me. I'm in the Frankie shirt. Hello, that's me, man. Ree. Oh yeah, nice. Such a simple fact, which is, is welfare ruining single-family parents or creating single-family homes in the black community? There's two avenues you can go to, which is one, why is it not ruining white families then? Or why is there a higher percentage of welfare recipients in the black community versus the white community? If that's the case, maybe there's some systemic reasons as to why that is happening. Or the alternative, which Alec did, is much better in my opinion, which is, okay, well then why won't we just give money to parents in general and not...
That's true. Those are both good responses. And I always, like, people are like, oh, well, welfare is destroying the black family. Well, why didn't it destroy the white family? Isn't the same welfare available to both? It's not like welfare is, like, racially targeted, right? And then you ask why, and then you move the conversation in that direction. Yeah.
Not only single family households.
Hello?
Hey, since we're on the whole Jubilee thing again, I was actually wondering what your take was on welfare contributing to single mother households in the black community.
I've never in my entire life seen a single piece of evidence to ever support that belief ever, and I think it's wild to insinuate that people make choices around family planning based on welfare acquisition. I'm sure there are some welfare queens, I'm sure it happens, but like in any appreciable or measurable amount, I've never seen that substantiated with any shred of data ever, that people intentionally keep themselves near poverty lines or do things to like get government welfare by having kids. That's insane to me. But
yeah, I've never seen any direct causal link. People have made the assumption because of welfare policies where if there is another income earner in the household, you can't get welfare. But yeah, the idea that that would actually discourage you is kind of weird because you don't get much money from welfare, and having somebody in the home that can actually earn a living, you'd get more of a benefit from that.
Yeah, I think the weird thing is that like people, the way that people talk about these welfare recipients, is they make it seem like they live like these amazingly glorious lives, and that's so obviously not the case.
Yeah.
But
yeah, they got iPhone 6s, driving nice Acuras,
Cadillacs, and yeah, it's really dumb. But
yeah, I think there has been some conservative propaganda that's actually targeted black communities, trying to discourage welfare because I've literally never seen any direct evidence of this. So I think, I think like actual conservative politicians have just claimed this as an argument to try to get rid of social services.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty.
And then black people are just eating it up.
Sure. I mean, it's a compelling story. Sounds good, I guess, but
yeah. Alright, well, I will be off again, lurking in the shadows until the next time.
Okay, be careful.
Take care.
Dude, I love this. I love this. He's like, the only time black people were over in this country was when it was the Dixiecrats doing. Bro, who cares what party they're a part of? They're white supremacists, dumbass. Like, yeah, okay, they were in the Democratic Party. This is where liberalism and like defending liberalism or defending the Democratic Party inevitably falls inevitably falls short of what is necessary. It's like, yeah, sure.
This is why that one dipshit in chat, ASIC or whatever the name was like, oh, Jesse, you're wrong. This is what I mean, and I was right? Hassan is going to take the opportunity to shit on Democrats and liberals because people on the far left don't consider themselves liberals.
Yeah, they were racist. Like, what do you mean? Fine, I agree with that. We're not playing in a team. Like, I'm not a part of that fucking team, dog. I'm not trying to defend this team. Even if you don't believe that there was a party switch, okay, or the Southern strategy is fake, let's say, who has a Confederate flag bumper sticker on their truck when they're going over to drive and vote for a fucking Republican? It's Republicans. It's not Democrats that are doing that shit. Republican politicians right now in present day American society are unironically defending the rights of Confederate generals and the right to be celebrated as though that's a right, even though it's not a right.
That's what I said before. Yeah, like if you look at like who's defending the Confederates, like the Democrats were the party of the people that were the KKK and that were really racist. Oh, okay. So if I go and find out who's defending the Confederate statues and everything today, is that the Democrats then? Or if I go and find out who's mad, who's flying Confederate flags and defending like the old statues of the generals, those are Democrats today? Or if I find like who is that? It's not Democrats. Why would you even say that argument? It's so stupid.
In the Klan, it's like, okay, well, why are the Klansmen running on the Republican Party ticket? There was a literal Nazi in Illinois that like won a quarter of the vote. Like an actual Nazi, like out and about. I'm saying like he was a part of the American Nazi Party. And he ran in Illinois for the Republican seat and he won 25% of the fucking vote, dog. The fuck do you mean? Why is he not running on the Democratic Party ticket then?
Black people are so quick now to not branch out and to have new ways of thinking or to go into careers like agriculture and these other career paths that Black people don't typically get into. It's not because of racism stopping them from getting in there. It's because we're told for so long that you have to follow this path and you have to think a certain way.
I think.
Wait, what? Bro, did you say Black people were not cast out from participating in agriculture? Are you nuts?
I'm misunderstanding something. I don't understand. It sounds like he's saying the exact opposite of that. He's saying that Black people are told that we aren't welcome in these areas. We aren't supposed to do these things. But one of us is misunderstanding. I'm not sure who. It sounds like he's saying literally the opposite of what.
Wait, what? That's like the worst one you could pick. And no, I'm not doing like a slavery joke or something. That would be incredibly out of touch and probably racist. I'm talking very specifically, Black people were forced out of farming. Okay? In the abolition of slavery, the only time Black people were able to participate in agricultural output was literally around sharecropping and not having, not unironically owning land. 40 acres and a fucking mule were a promise given to freed slaves that was not followed on. The only reparations were given in the United States of America literally was given to white farmers or white landowners who owned slaves. It was a payment of restitution for the slaves that were forcibly freed. And literally, Steven Crowder made fun of the Black farmers. We have to offer some kind of help to Black farmers. We have to create programs that engage Black people with agricultural production. And Steven Crowder was like, oh yeah, what are they gonna farm, Hennessy? Like, I remember that. He's permanently fucking scarred in my mind. So, and he didn't do that voice, by the way. He did the fucking Chris Tucker voice, because that's the only voice he has for Black people. From Barack Obama to
I think that, I mean, Hassan's not necessarily wrong, but I don't know if the Black guy would disagree with him. I feel like he's just not connecting with what he's saying, maybe, but 40 acres and a mule was not a promise. It was an idea floated by Sherman. I believe after slaves were freed, that never went any further than that. I feel like there was discussion of the 40 acres and a mule thing, but I don't know if any formal promise was actually made. But I do think that there was an issue. I think that in history, I think we have a pattern of you have like an oppressed group, and then the oppressed group gets unoppressed, they get freed. But then when they come back to engage in society as free people, because of the past transgressions, they're kind of like, so black people pick up some kind of agricultural knowledge because they're working in farms and picking cotton and all this shit all day, right? And now they're free people, and it's like, oh, cool, black people are free. They've got some agricultural knowledge. Now they can go and farm. And then black people are like, okay, but we don't have any land. It's like, oh, well, what if instead of being a slave, you come and work as indentured servants doing sharecropping on white farms? And it's like, well, okay. Doesn't seem like we've upgraded that much. And that style of engagement is going to continue to enrich white farmers and kind of continue to for black farmers, but okay. Something similar happened after the Civil Rights Act, to where it's like, hey, you can't get discriminated against for being black for doing a job. And then union people were like, okay, that's fair. No more discrimination. But if you want to work past menial labor and you want to do the really well-paying jobs, you need 10 years of experience doing those kinds of jobs first. And then black people go, okay, well, that's cool that we have the opportunity to promote, except because of racist laws or union rules, we literally weren't allowed to work those jobs. So now you've created a rule that effectively locks all of us out. So we're equal now, but not really. This type of thing seems to happen over and over and over and over and over.
Morgan Freeman, anytime Steven Crowder tries to do the black voice, it's Chris Tucker.
Why do you think some people who are getting into politics gravitate towards this content? I can understand people watching the looks raw, but I genuinely don't see these deliberate political commentators.
Power of Olympus.
I think Hassan has got a lot that like works in his favor. He looks good, like he's decently funny. He networks really well. Those are the personal things. And then on the other side, his brand of politics and edginess is incredibly safe, especially among females. He sits at like the center of just this gravitational center of incredibly safe political content that you are like anybody could go and say any of the things, even the edgy jokes that Hassan says in almost any setting as a young person can be immediately socially accepted. I think that his own personal demeanor, the connections that he's made, the fact that he's like decently funny, I guess, to watch, and then the fact that his political ideology is such a very, very, very safe one to follow, especially for young kids in college, I think gives him access to a really, really large audience. Why is your brand so unsafe? To be honest, a lot of your takes are pretty boring, but 90% of people IRL prefer to be thinking of the devil. It's hard for me to tell, obviously, because now this is my perspective, my subjective lens of analysis, and it affects me, so you can always just spam cope if it makes you feel bad, but I think that the number one thing that works against me more than anything else is probably the caricatures that other people make of me. Now, it's hard for me to know that exactly, but I think I said this earlier. 99% of the time when a person starts watching my content and she'll say like, oh, I used to be a Vosh fan, or I used to be a Hassan fan, or even people that email me and say, I used to be a Hassan fan, or I used to be a Vosh fan, 99% of the time they tell me they're no longer fans of them or they're fans of me. It's never because they were like, I did some big introspection, I did a lot of critical self-reflection, or I think I've grown and I've changed. It's never that. Usually it's just like, then I saw one of your videos. Like 99% of the time, that's the answer. I used to think this and this and this and heard that, but then I saw you debate this guy. Then I saw one of your videos. Then I saw something pop up on TikTok from your content. And once I saw that, it was totally different than the, because if you talk to an average Hassan fan, who's Destiny? I think he's like a really edgy racist guy. I think he wants like BLM protesters to be killed. I think he's really transphobic, probably homophobic. He hates poor people. But then if you listen to literally any debate I've ever done ever, then it's like, oh, the thing that I had in my brain, yeah, doesn't line up at all, you know? Yeah, I think that most of the time, I think that's the reason why. Some people say like, oh, it's because you use logic and you don't toe a partisan line, blah, blah, blah. I actually don't think that part matters almost at all. I think it's the caricatures that other large content creators create of me and their minds are very, very, very good. That would be right. Why did the characters arise in the first place, though? Did you do that to one of them, or just being more left-wing? Unfortunately, I built a brand and I built an image out of being incredibly honest and I'm jerking myself off. But like honesty and being truthful about people is one of the big things that works in my favor for my brand. It also works against me a little bit as well. It works in my favor, honestly, because people see that as being a positive trait, so I get a lot of credit from that, especially against audiences like conservatives. However, the issue is that it severely impinges my ability to lie on other creators. So there's probably been like 2 or 3 times in my career where I'm like, probably shouldn't have said that. I probably shouldn't have said that Demon Mama made that 4chan thread about her, which was, in the great scheme of things, it's a pretty minor lie, and it's not even really. She probably did. But like when I say something about somebody else that's dishonest, my fans will roast the fuck out of me for that, because integrity is a big part of what I do. Now, even though people will say it, integrity isn't really a big part of why you watch Hasan Arshad. You don't really care about integrity. What you want to hear is you want to hear them roast the fuck out of people you don't like. You want to hear them give you your political partisan lines back at you. You want to hear them make you feel good about watching them and about your takes on the news. That's really why you're watching them. At the end of the day, you don't really care. There's going to be like some baseline of integrity. You assume everybody does, but you don't watch these people because of integrity, right? Like if you're a Washer or a Hasan fan, these guys can say basically whatever lie they want about me, and it's not going to be a big issue. Like you don't really care that much, you know?
Conservatives are like, I hate affirmative action, and then they're like, we need to elevate some black people because, you know, we need to hear a black person's perspective defending white supremacy.
My bow grows stronger.
Affirmative action is in and of itself not a issue, unless you are shitting on it as a black person, then we'll elevate you to a position of power.
That is very true, and it is hypocritical, and Hasan is 100% correct. But it's also true in the reverse as well, right? Don't treat minorities as a monolith. It's not fair to stereotype black people as being criminals. It's not fair to stereotype Hispanics as being rapists or thieves. It's not fair to stereotype these people. However, all black people probably want to abolish the police, and all police are definitely racist against black people. And even when black people are leading against other black people, it's because of white supremacism. And all brown people are Bernie Sanders supporters, which went on Equinox. One guy was like, "Hola, Hasan! Me gusta Bernie Sanders!" Right? Like, so everybody, this has been increasingly blackpilling for me, but I feel like very, very, very few people actually have political virtues or moral virtues or principles. It's more just kind of like at the end of the day, what supports my given political position, and then you just kind of run with it basically. Because it's silly to say like, oh yeah, like because for Hasan, right, all black conservatives are just bootlickers upholding white supremacy. You know, it's like okay.
And I think that every black person knows how to get into college. Every black, I mean, you can pull out the names, the Oprah, President Obama. You can pull out the head of Time Warner was black man, the Forbes was black man. We know what to do now. We don't need a. What the fuck?
What are they? What? What's happening?
The affirmative action is offensive sometimes, especially nowadays, because I have 6 children and 2 boys, 4 girls. And all of them went to Harvard, Columbia, this one, that one. And it breaks my heart to think that they accomplished that.
Yeah, wait, what? That's like, yeah, how do you not understand that?
Careful. Be really careful with this.
Like, conservatives are lying. Wait.
They're that.
Yeah, wait.
I have 6 children and 2 boys, 4 girls. And all of them went to Harvard and Columbia, and this one and that one. And it breaks my heart to think that they accomplished that.
Yeah, wait, what? That's like, yeah, how do you not understand that, like, conservatives are lying? Wait, that's so dumb. That's so dumb. Lady, your children deserve to go to those fucking schools. Are you stupid? How did you not understand?
Oh God, I know he's not directly saying it, but I'm really uncomfortable because it feels like he's implying the same thing that she's saying she needs the implication. It feels like he's implying that, like, even if they got it via affirmative action, like, which this lady would kill herself if she heard her saying it. I can't, it feels like he's implying that, but maybe not, but it feels like he's so close to it.
Go to those schools. Are you stupid? How did you not understand that your very own children deserve to go to those schools, and you're like, and everybody thinks that, like, they deserve to go to those schools only because of affirmative action? It's like, yeah, no shit. That happened during affirmative action, which means if you personally believe that your children deserve to go to Harvard, you can't be anti-affirmative action. What the f*** is...
Oh God. Oh, it's such a horrible statement to make. It's like the worst. It's like of all the statements that you can make here, it's like the biggest proof of like what this woman is talking about. Like, if you're happy that your black children made it into Ivy League schools, how can you be against policies to help stupid black people get to Ivy League schools, lady? Like, what are you talking? Like, oh god, it's like the worst. It's like he's doing exactly the thing. He's doing exactly the thing that she's complaining about. Oh no.
This makes no sense.
Yeah, it's like he looked forward to like 55 million timelines, and he tried to pick the absolute worst one.
That's so stupid. Unless she literally was about to say, like, my kids are fucking dumbasses. Like, they literally took a white person's spot or some shit.
The goal of getting into these institutions just because of the color of their skin.
I can definitely say that it creates a lot of tension when you have affirmative action. I remember my first
No, you an idiot. The tension is not affirmative action. The tension is white supremacy.
Oh my god, dude.
You can't say you have integrity and do the most bad faith interpretation of what Hassan said. Hassan said that if you're happy that your children went to this school as black children, then you must defend affirmative action. How are those two things linked at all unless you think affirmative action was an integral part about those black children going to that school? That's what, I don't understand what you're saying. That's what it sounds like to me. Am I misinterpreting that? That's not what he said?
Anti-affirmative action. Look at conservatives are lying. Wait, that's so dumb. That's so dumb. Lady, your children deserve to go to those fucking schools. Are you stupid? How did you not understand that your very own children deserve to go to those schools, and you're like, and everybody thinks that like they deserve to go to those schools only because of affirmative action? It's like, yeah, no shit. That happened during affirmative action, which means if you personally believe that your children deserve to go to Harvard, you can't be anti-affirmative action. What the?
I'm not. I generally try to be good faith because I know Hassan, dipshit fans, will say I'm being good faith. I genuinely don't know how else to read that statement, but maybe I'm just missing something. Yeah, maybe I'm just missing something. But that's how I read his statement. He's not necessarily saying that affirmative action is what got them in, but it's a very heavy implication, and it's saying that like if you got your black children into Ivy League schools, you must be in favor of a program that helps, that accelerates people to get into these schools that otherwise wouldn't deserve to, right? Which is essentially kind of sort of what affirmative action is right? We're saying somebody can't get there on merits, but we're gonna get them in because of their skin color, which is what this lady is opposed to. You can call me bad baby or I'm just stupid, I guess, but I don't see another way to read that statement, but.
This makes no sense. Fucking idiot. Detention is not affirmative action. Detention is white supremacy. Okay?
I also think that, like, and maybe this is unpopular with progressives, I don't think that you should ever be saying, like, white supremacy or white anything like that. It's just cringe. It's just, like, it doesn't mean anything anymore. Everything, especially, like, bro, like, we watch a video of, like, 4 black cops beating up, like, a black guy to death in the street, and it's, like, white supremacy. Like, it's become such a catch-all for every single boogeyman I don't like. I think it just needs to stop. Unless you're having, like, a very academic conversation, and you want to talk about it, that's fine, but otherwise, like, let's just not.
Oh my god. Yeah, it's definitely not white supremacy. It's the affirmative action that made people racist, my man, for sure. Maybe he has to live with that. Maybe he has to fucking believe that internally, because like otherwise he has to recognize that every single person who propped him up in his career in the conservative media ecosystem is a racist.
Is it? God, I feel like you have to be so careful with conversations. Now, isn't he basically saying like the only reason these black people are here is because they're black? Isn't he like proving that? Like some people think that affirmative action makes it so you'll never take a black person seriously, and it sounds like that would never happen. Nobody would think that. And by the way, the only reason people take them seriously, everyone is real.
That's enough. Peace and quiet.
Focus on the underlying point that he's making. He's like, I deserve to go to this college because I worked really hard, okay? And then people think I got here due to affirmative action. That idea, that you have to have enough processing power, okay, to recognize that in that very moment you're like, wait, I didn't get here. I worked hard. Hold on.
Yeah, but the whole issue is that you don't know. That's the whole point. I think that's problem is he doesn't know because there is criminal. That's the problem. He's an issue. That's the problem. It's not one stands that agrees with me.
Maybe that is the case for every single person, and that the conservative media is greatly overgeneralizing and hyping up the impact that affirmative action has had in an effort to cut white supremacist propaganda, but not directly by saying we should segregate schools.
Off we go.
No, it's probably not that. Thank you for the fucking $100,000 a year job, Dennis Prager. Like, you can't be a black person who's like, oh, dude, what the like, I hate affirmative action.
Any other blessings, maybe.
And simultaneously be like, I deserve to be in this college.
The power of the sea.
I don't have the.
Hey, Charon, you're
The vocabulary, I don't know how to parse
Well,
these
that is
statements.
a relief.
I don't even know like what. I don't even know how to respond to it.
Delicious.
I don't know what to say. I don't understand. I just don't. I truly just don't understand what he's saying. I can't do it.
Like, you can't be a black person who's like, oh, dude, what the fuck? Like, I hate affirmative action. And simultaneously be like, I deserve to be in this college. You know what I mean? There's no way that no, this is sitting across from this dude both like white knuckling it right now because he's saying such dumb shit. Even if you agree with him.
How is it dumb? It's not dumb at all. This would be like one of the few points that I could empathize with someone. My ex, that used to work for defense contractors. She worked for she did satellite stuff. I don't know. But like, she would tell me that like it was incredibly aggravating sometimes to hear people say things like, oh, like, wow, you got a physics engineering degree and you work here, right? And you're a Hispanic woman, like that's really impressive. Like from what she told me, these were like some of the most condescending comments that she ever heard. It was incredibly fucking because, especially when I like talk to her, think about her, like I don't think of like, oh, like wow, it's so cool that you're a woman and you're not fucking retarded and you studied physics. Like good job for being a brown woman. Like, but I imagine, and I can imagine that experience probably goes like forward to other people, other minorities, other women as well, that those are probably some of the most irritating and aggravating comments to hear. Is it like, wow, like you're, or actually it's
How do you feel about Colin Powell? He speaks so well. He's so well spoken. He speaks so well. I mean, he really speaks well. He speaks so well. Speaks so well is not a compliment, okay? Speaks so well, some shit you say about retarded people. That gets tough.
But I'm very sympathetic to his position. I can understand what his mom is. I don't know why he would assume that this is the thing that would trigger him more than anything else on the planet.
That affirmative action is like, even if he agrees right now that the Supreme Court decision to end affirmative action, in that moment, he did the fucking thing where he's like, yeah, I agree with this actually. Even in that moment, because he's making such bad arguments, you know his ass is like probably sitting there going, I want to debate him because he's so stupid. Like, that's a stupid ass argument. He's making a stupid argument.
Did I earn this position?
It's not even an argument, bro. He's just talking about how he feels. He's just saying like these are the feelings that I go. How is it? It's not even making an argument.
Should my ancestors' suffering earn this award?
And two, I've seen it in the sense of like affirmative action taking with other people who are minorities. Like I have a friend who was Asian and he in high school and he really wanted to go to MIT. That was his dream school. He interned there. He was super like prepared to go there, and he didn't get in. And you can only assume that it was because of affirmative action because they have such a large Asian population that he wanted to get other people.
I was going to actually argue that it's more racist nowadays because it excludes so many Asian Americans from getting into university because you deserve a spot and they can't get it because of affirmative action, which, again, like you were saying, was necessary at the time. But now it's like anybody, if you have...
My controversial opinion on this matter is that it's good that the Supreme Court actually ended affirmative action only because colleges are still going to do the same exact measurements that they have. Okay, they're still going to do the same shit because they want a diverse learning environment. They don't want Harvard to be exclusively white people, okay? Because even if you are going to become a war criminal later down the line, as many Harvard education...
He's just referring to the fact that a lot of presidents have Ivy League educations and he thinks every president is a war criminal. That's what he means when he says that statement.
Recipients do become, okay? You still need to learn about that shit in an environment that is diverse where you can at least, like, you know, work around black people without, like, blurting out...
Learning how to do war crimes in a diverse environment. I don't even know what the point he's trying to make right now. I don't even understand.
The most racist shit possible, because that is what America is. America is a very diverse country, one of the most diverse nations on the planet, as a matter of fact. So it don't matter. You need to get a level of DEI, and colleges know that, and that's precisely the reason why they're like, yeah, shut the fuck up. Oh yeah, oh no, you took down affirmative action. We're still going to have, still in the bed, but they're still going to have similar fucking percentages where they have a holistic approach to their admissions process, which is completely reasonable, and that they are going to find either other ways, maybe there's a class-based or, which would be great, by the way, totally desirable, or just the same exact fucking metrics that they have for admissions, which end up creating identical demographic, identical demographics in the applicant process, in the accepting, in the applicants that were accepted. That's it. That's it. Because the reality is affirmative action is not a fucking, literal solution to racism. It was never that. If anything, it's a mechanism so that, people who want to turn out white supremacist capitalist systemic violence can learn in an environment that's diverse enough so they can do it better.
Jesus. So many buzzwords, it's all like Jesus.
Turn out white supremacist capitalist systemic violence.
He's like, we need they've got it, it's like the rule of three, okay? White supremacist capitalist, systemic violence. Okay, there we go.
And learn in an environment that's diverse enough so they can do it better, okay? That's it.
I don't think affirmative action is the worst thing, considering all the different types or aspects of the background you might take into account. In college, whether they were in certain clubs, Boy Scouts, classes.
The bloodless failed to stop you once
I
again.
don't think that factoring in the affirmative action is necessarily a bad thing, but I feel like because of everything you guys have said, the optics behind it are so horrible today that even if it is slightly beneficial in the long run for certain people, I think we can probably refocus most of that into.
God, I hate liberals so much. Oh my god.
God, nothing is more. You know what's more cringe than a liberal? It's a liberal LARPing as a lefty who lives the most hyper-consumerist, shallow form of a capitalist life than literally any other capitalist I fucking know. Like, Andrew Tate and Hasanabi are right next to each other, except instead of Bugattis, his $7,000 shirts and private jet rides from his $3 million Hollywood mansion to fucking Burning Man. Like, bro, come on. You can't have that many fucking rings on your finger and be like, I hate liberalism. Like, Jesus Christ.
Yes.
It's so cringe.
Dude. First of all, he basically just said what I said jokingly. Okay.
Okay, when he said he was saying
everything's so green.
The difference is he's serious about it, and he's willing to say affirmative action should be ended. Okay? But it's fucking frustrating, because it's like, who gives a if it's just simply an optics situation, then yeah, you should, I don't know, fix it by doing a decent amount of propaganda in that direction. But nobody wants to do that. Nobody wants to work anymore, except for conservatives.
Nobody wants to work anymore? Bro's literally the laziest motherfucker in the world. The only activism this motherfucker does is donation drives from the seat of his audience, or going out to actually join a strike if he can talk to celebrities because they work for writers in Hollywood. Or the one time he went to a protest because two 15-year-old female fans finally put a TikTok out saying, Hassan, where the fuck are you? Why are you the largest lefty representative online, and the only amount of activism you've ever done is having AOC on to play Among Us? Get the fuck out of here, dude.
They will work really hard to fix the optics of unimaginably bad positions. That's why the conversation around abortion is about protecting life. Can you imagine? It's literally a medical process that Republicans have decided is nah, that's...
You know what else is only a medical process? Is the lethal injection. I mean, what do you mean? Obviously, the disagreements over abortion are whether or not the fetus is a human life or not.
It's actually life. They don't even give a fuck about it. If it was literally murder, they wouldn't care and make ectopic pregnancy provisions, or They wouldn't make.
This is like one of the few things that almost every fucking person believes, is that for like ectopic pregnancy. Like I'm pretty sure even that Shrek guy. I think most people agree that like, listen, if the life of the mother is in danger, probably probably should have an incest. I think almost everybody agrees with that.
They wouldn't make provisions or exceptions for rape or incest. I mean, some don't, but most do. Why? If it's murder, it's murder. You fucking piece of shit. Why are you sitting there and be like, well, some murder's fine?
I mean, that's if you're a conservative and you're pro-life, is what we would call you. If you're a conservative and you're pro-life, you can't make exceptions for incest or rape. You can't draw tight. You have to insist on that. That's the worst situation. But that Trent guy.
Champions of Elysium, now prove yourselves.
Why? Why are they doing that? Because they recognize that it's bullshit. Because it's propaganda. Because they know that the optics don't matter. If you scream more and more and more about a particular thing, you can change enough people's minds. And even if you don't change their minds, it still doesn't matter. You can still absolutely control the narrative. You pluck a couple people from different backgrounds that, due to financial hangups and systemic racism, may or may not have been able to be in the selections process on paper, because on paper they still have great grades, because it's not like, you know, a black kids with like who are getting F's all year round are being like put into Harvard, instead of a guy who's an A+ college student who's white, and they're like, you white kid, like you're not getting in, or like, oh, you Asian kid who studied really hard, we're gonna get this dumbass black kid here. Like, that's not how it works. That's just like, that's made up. And that's precisely why the black conservatives on that panel are like, my children worked really hard to get to the position that they got to, and they literally didn't even, everyone said they got there because of affirmative action, that's why we need to end it. It's like, yeah, you just admitted that it's fucking bullshit.
Worth it.
You just admitted as a black conservative that the conservative line on affirmative action is bullshit. Okay?
I don't see how he's drawing this thing. He's saying that their black students deserve to be there because they worked hard, but they're worried that affirmative action is undermining the hard work they've done. That's the argument that they're making. I don't understand how.
Man, you hurt somebody's feelings.
I don't understand how either Hassan is missing that, or I'm not understanding what he's saying.
If affirmative action accomplished its purpose, why do we still see the disparities that we do in the professional workplace? If you average white wealth compared to black wealth total, white people as a whole have about 50 times greater wealth than black people per capita. So I just don't understand why you think affirmative action is
Curious, why do you assume that just because there is a disparity means it's because of a racial issue?
What else?
So a lot of kids grow up in a neighborhood that experiences a lot of trauma. You're not as likely to do as well in school, which if you curious, why?
There ain't no fucking way. Dude, black conservatives defend conservatism without being like inherently racist challenge, impossible difficulty. Because it is.
Wait, what was the racism part?
Come forth and be swatted, deadly butterflies.
Literally impossible. Like they just sat there and literally went, yeah, it's because we have a different culture that's like inferior. That's a wild thing to say.
And every single every single black conservative, but every single black Lutheran household that I grew up around. I've said this a million times, but I continue to say it. Like I said, like, bro, the least likely area you can ever find like rabbit location is going to be in like any of those lives. Like, those kids had their hands pulled up, those kids were not listening to any of that kind of stuff. But I don't think that, I feel like Hassan thinks it's only, or maybe Hassan thinks those black fathers were white supremacists. I don't know. Yeah, he might actually just say that. Never mind. Never mind. Forget what I just said. Forget it. Yeah, I don't know.
What are you saying? Like, we just culturally are inferior and don't have any desire for success? Like, that's an insane thing to say! You're a black person, why are you saying that? Like, any white person that says that, I think, okay, here's what I think. conservatives are so permanently one note. Because like the entire purpose in the eyes of like conservatives and the conservative movement as a whole is to like fill that racial gap and be like, you're the black face on white supremacy now. You're using the same shit because you believe the same shit that I believe, right? But it's like way better. It's way better that you say it because then other people feel less racist about saying it, right? Kinda so. They're so fucking one note that they forget that there are people around them that are gonna go, hold up, what are you saying right now? You just say that like there is a racial component to like there's a cultural inferiority across the board on the entire black race? Like what?
But I think that's exactly what a lot of black people, a lot of black conservatives would argue. I think there are ways that you can tango with that argument, but that argument's not even really that crazy because you could argue in one sense, Hassan is kind of making the exact same argument about white people. If you consider white supremacy to be a cultural relic of the history of the United States, in a way, white supremacy is like bad culture.
Let's shake this curse.
Except from white people, right? Now, is that because white people are racially superior or inferior or racially like being racist? I don't think I would say that. Like you could argue this like
But that's if a white person says that, you know you're conditioned into understanding like, oh, that's just like a guy being racist.
Just don't understand why you think affirmative action is accomplished.
I do like how Hassan gives away the whole game plan there, though, right? Like, as long as I can just write this person off as racist, I don't actually have to ever consider ever what this guy said. Racist. Poof. Okay. Poof. Thoughts. Comfortable. Poof. Racist.
Curious, why do you assume that just because there is a disparity, it's because of racial?
What else would
So it does play a lot. If you grow up in a neighborhood that experiences a lot of trauma, you're not as likely to do as well in school, which means...
Why did they grow up in it? Okay, that's great. Oh, Alex, good job. Holy shit.
That experiences a lot of trauma. Yes, but why specifically do more black people?
Mine.
Government assistance programs like what?
Try redlining. I mean, you can go into that if you want to, but let's take
It
a
is
look
relevant.
at the Gay Societies Act, which was...
Wait. Bro, come on, dude. Come on. You're not gonna do the venture line on redlining, right? Like financial institutions were perfectly valid in not giving black people loans because they think that black people are
Okay, so there's a video that is going around on Facebook and on YouTube. It's from National Systemic Racism. Explain this thing. I thought it was worthwhile going through with it. So we're gonna play the video. We'll stop it and stop. This video is sponsored by Venom Brothers' brand new course, Expert Orders. You can learn what a business is. Stick around to the end of the video to find out more details.
This is Jamal. Jamal's a boy who lives in a poor neighborhood. He has a friend named Kevin who lives in a wealthy neighborhood. All of Jamal's neighbors are African American, and all of Kevin's neighbors are white. This Jamal's school district is mostly funded by property taxes. His school is not very well funded. His classrooms are crowded, his teachers are underpaid, and he doesn't have access to high-quality tutors or extracurricular activities. Kevin's school district is also funded by property taxes. But his school is very well funded. His classrooms are never crowded, his teachers are very well paid, and he has access to high-quality tutors and lots of extracurricular activities.
So let's talk for a second about school policy. The reality is, if you want it, you won't be able to go to school if you want.
So normally these videos, these little fun videos are dog shit. And everything said in that video so far, I think we did react as long as everything said in that video so far is 100% true. And it is a big problem. And school vouchers are not the correct decision, okay? Well, are you gonna voucher every single kid out of the poor school to the rich school? Like, are people in the rich schools even gonna be okay with kids vouchering in from the poor schools? Like, what does that say about our poor schools that are now having no funding and no support because now kids are all going to the same school? Is there even enough space for them? Like, it just doesn't make sense. Vouchers are just not a way to do this ever. I don't think it makes any sense.
Away from the school districts. One of the chief reasons Jamal is confined to his local public school is because of democratic policy that has decided that you must go to school in the district where you live. This is also why a lot of people have left lower income areas and moved out to higher income areas specifically for better public schools. So if you want Jamal to have the same educational opportunities as Kevin, perhaps you should have school vouchers, private schools, or perhaps you should have charter schools, which is what they are applied to more, fighting against, or perhaps you break teacher unions for costing of origin, particularly on a disproportionate level in areas where they're not spending enough taxpayer dollars. So I'm all for improving Jamal's schools. I'm also all for Jamal having all the same educational opportunities as Kevin. The problem is those Democrats are not.
Kevin and Jamal live only a few streets away from each other. So how come they're growing up in such different worlds with such different opportunities for success? The answer has to do with America's history of systemic racism. To understand it better, let's look at what life was like for Kevin and Jamal's grandparents.
In order to understand what's going to happen in this video, you have to understand how systemic racism is being defined. Systemic racism is really amorphous term. It could mean many things. It could mean that the institutions of today are racist, in which case everyone would oppose them. Or it could mean that all inequality is explainable by racism. The argument that this video is going to try to make is that all of history is real. And that's true. History does have consequences today. The problem is, we'll see, the video tries to explain all inequality with reliance on history, and no inequality is wrong to exacerbating levels of inequality one of the personal decision making or any of the other variables that could create the gap.
Decades after the Civil War, many government agencies started started to draw maps dividing cities into sections that were either desirable or undesirable for investment. This practice was illegal, and it usually blocked off entire black neighborhoods from access to private and public investment. Banks and insurance companies used these maps for decades to deny black people loans and other services based purely.
Okay. Ooh, I should look this up. My understanding is that this video is actually understating the racial aspects of this. It wasn't just that neighborhoods were marked for good or bad investment, but it's something to put down the amount of money to make the investment in those neighborhoods. I thought some banks literally had like no Negro zoning sections for neighborhoods. Like you were not, even if you had them, you were not allowed to do there as a black person. My understanding is that some of the redlining was literally and explicitly called out by race. It wasn't just a. I thought we actually saw documents. I feel like I looked at this. I feel like we researched this like 2 or 3 years ago. I thought we actually saw bank documents that literally said on the documents. Also, many HOAs and deeds for houses say no blacks, Jews, or Mexicans. My house has that on the deed, and it can't be sold to any of them. Oh, my house has on the deed that it can be sold. Okay. I don't ever want you to like take my word for this on anything. Oh, okay. So like this was I believe this was Philadelphia HOLC redlining zone descriptions 1937. Name of city, suburb, I guess of Philadelphia or something. Speed grade A, area number 1, description terrain, rolling, favorable influences, highly desirable, well restricted. Inhabitants type, execs professional, estimated annual family income over $5,000. Foreign born, no. Population is increasing slowly. Relief families, no. And if you scroll down on this, I feel like I want to say it explicitly says in this document. You missed it, is it near the top, or did I pass it? Oh yeah, Negro. No, like this is not like doesn't have enough money.
Be right back.
Isn't wealthy enough. Can't afford down payment. It's just like it's explicitly no. Sorry. Normally these like little SJW videos or whatever, normally they're like pretty shitty, but I'm surprised. I feel like even in their video, I think they understate the racism that went into redlining. It was not just they marked areas for poor investment, blah, blah, blah. It was race was explicitly called out to deny people housing.
To private and public investment. Banks and insurance companies use these maps for decades to deny black people loans and other services based purely on race. Historically speaking.
Well, I'm sorry. He did say that there. Based purely on race. He did say that at the end. That, to be fair, he did. Okay.
Getting home and getting a college education is the easiest way for an American family to build wealth. But when Jamal's grandparents...
I'm so curious if Ben Shapiro's going to deny that.
...wanted to buy a house, the banks refused because they lived in a neighborhood that was redlined. So Jamal's grandparents were not able to buy a home, and because colleges could prevent them from attending through legal segregation, their options for higher education were really scarce.
So let's talk about redlining. Redlining became illegal in the United States as early as 1968. The Equal Credit Opportunity Act was followed by the Home Mortgage Disclosure Act in 1975, which was a predecessor to the Community Reinvestment Act, both of which were an attempt to ensure that people who were living in low-income minority neighborhoods could actually get loans. And these things were very effective. In 1992, researchers at the Federal Reserve Bank of Boston tried to look at the data. They collected information on some 30 variables related to lending decisions. They found that virtually all of the difference between minority and non-minority denial rates was explained by those variables. A reanalysis of that information found that black-owned banks were actually lending to white-owned and non-minority. Tried to look at the data. They collected information on some 30 variables related to lending decisions. They found that virtually all of the difference between minority and non-minority denial rates was explained by those variables. A reanalysis of that information.
Oh, he's not denying redlining, but he's using a very crude analysis. And he's trying to say that after these laws were passed, from the 70s onwards, people were no longer making racial decisions. I can probably believe that, give or take, depending on the particular state that you lived in, right? Connecticut, New York, probably. Louisiana, Alabama, maybe not. Right? Depending on where you lived in, I could probably buy that. But the issue here isn't from the 70s and onwards, or the 80s and onwards. The issue here is this wealth is generational. Now, as much as from a personal financial point of view, I'll tell you, using houses that's a shitty investment, and you shouldn't be thinking about that as your primary investment vehicle. The reality is, for most families, that is their primary investment vehicle. Most families build wealth through owning homes. That's just how because people suck at finances, that's how most people build wealth. And when black people, generationally, are being denied access to housing, you can't say that in 2 generations that issue is going to be fixed. In 2 generations? In 2 generations? Because one state in 1968 outlawed redlining? In 2 generations, it's fixed? That's wild. Or in 2 generations, or is it in 1 generation? 1968. When was my mom born? My mom is 60, I think 6 years old. My mom might have been born in 68. We might be talking, you responded to that exact video before? Yeah, I remember watching it. That might be one generation. That might be a single generation that we're talking about. Like, that's such a wildly stupid, yeah, I don't know. Destiny, why is it shitty for wealth housing? Because houses, in my personal opinion, homes are bad vehicles for wealth because one, it's not something that just appreciates in value. It's a liability as well. You've got to pay to upkeep it. Two, it's very hard to put cash out of a house. You've got to use like annuities. I think you can use an annuity for a house or like a reverse mortgage. I don't remember if you can house annuities or not. HELOCs, home equity line of credit. They're just houses are very illiquid. You can't pull money out of them easily. They can end up becoming liabilities. It's not guaranteed to be an asset. It doesn't generate any revenue for you like returns on investments will. It could be a bad investment if you get a house at the wrong time or the wrong area. It's just like
Jesus Christ, that feeling.
It's the most common thing that people do, so be aware of that. Where's Caleb Hammer? That guy's watching my stream the other day. I wonder if he agrees with me. It's just I think
that feeling when you get a whole ass clear cat hair stuck underneath your contact.
If I can give you very few,
Jesus
if I can give you
Christ.
a couple of key investment points, just two things. These are two things. These are super basic. Nobody will disagree with me when I say this, okay? Two things. One, max out your IRA. Always max out your IRA. It's such a tax advantage investment. The government limits it heavily because of how tax advantage it is. Always max out your IRA is number one. And number two, always, if you work a job and they've got a 401k match, always hit your 401k match. You will never get a free auto 20 to 50% appreciation on your money in any investment in your life. Most companies will match anywhere from 3 to 6%. Usually they match 50%. I've seen less, I've seen a little more. Just depends. I've seen some people match 100%. But 401k matches and your IRA investments, these are like your two fundamental ones. Bro, if you start maxing these out when you're like 20, damn it. If you starting balance is 0, let's say you hit your $5,000 contribution. Let's say you start at, let's say 21, and that might be a lot because that's what we're talking, like $400 a month into. That might be at 21 years old. That might be a lot, sure. We'll say we're retired at 65. I don't want gross income or anything like that. If you only, I think this is true. If you only did an IRA, oh fuck, hold on. If you only did an IRA contribution, you would have, this is literally only your IRA, you'd have over $1 million just at $400 a month, right? That's at 65 too. That's if you start at 21. Yeah, IRAs are very, very, very tax advantaged. And technically, this would be your IRA. You would get this before taxes because if you're traditional versus Roth, you can avoid taxes on the front or back, depending how it goes. But like, yeah, IRAs are very, very tax advantaged. You ever getting an HSA and rollover memes? I don't do HSAs. Because my health is perfect, and I don't need to invest in my health. So suck it, suck my dick, suck it. How can a mortgage be a bad investment if a significant portion of your income goes to rent for like lower middle income people? Because when you pay rent, you're paying for a place to live. Same thing when you pay a mortgage. Bro, most of the money for your mortgage also evaporates into thin air. It's called interest, okay? People, like, mortgage heads, what's like a slur that we could use for people with mortgages? Like, we've got breeders for heterosexual people. We've got mongoloids for monogamous people. What can we say for morgies? Yeah. Morgies, okay? Morgoids. I like that one, okay? Morgoids in chat will attack the renter Chads. Amortization? Is that the right word? I spelled that correctly. Morgoids in chat will be like, oh, well, when you pay rent, you're just throwing it into fucking thin air and it's disappearing. And they have no idea what their average payment looks like on their fucking mortgage. On a $300,000 loan, after 10 years of making payments, you've got $60,000 of equity, and you've paid over $160,000.
Alright, so it's time for another tier list. Let's get our hands dirty in here, shall we? What's up, my name's Halion, and I've played a ton of roguelike games and showed most of them here on my YouTube channel, as well as over on twitch.tv/Halion, of course, and I've probably played the vast majority of the top-selling, definitely, and also top-rated roguelike games that have ever released on Steam, and then some on other consoles as well. In fact, you could probably find footage for most of the games that I list here somewhere on the YouTube universe if you just search a little bit, no doubt. So these are going to be generally the most popular roguelike games by either just the sheer number of reviews or the highest rated reviews. But I've also included some hidden gems, as I like to call them, and almost all of these are really good games, but I have included some that I really do not recommend, and of course I'll explain why, and we'll show you why. And before we get started, let me know, what are your S-tier roguelike games, or maybe just your top-rated one? Are there any that you specifically don't recommend that didn't click for you? Let me know about those in the comments as well. And of course, if I missed a game that you really wish I rated, let me know, and I'll do my best to respond and let you know what I think of it. Alright, we got 75 roguelikes to go through, so let's get started, shall we? Alright, as we get started, this is just my opinion. This isn't an objective tier list. If you want to know what the best roguelike games are out there, just check the Steam reviews to get the best idea of it. But as always, when you look at these things, take it with a little bit of grain of salt, especially the games that don't have a lot of reviews. This is really just here to show what I think are the best games, and I've played so many of them that at this point, I feel like I know at least a little bit of what I'm talking about. Alright, like I said, we're going to have to breeze through them really quickly. I'll stop on the ones that I think are important, but let's get started here. Crown Trick. This one's kind of a hidden gem that I feel like doesn't get a ton of talk. It's kind of a very traditional... Alright, so it's time for another tier list. Let's get our hands dirty in here, shall we? What's up, my name's Halion, and I've played a ton of roguelike games and showed most of them here on my YouTube channel, as well as over on twitch.tv/Halion, of course, and I've probably played the vast majority of the top-selling, definitely, and also top-rated roguelike games that have ever released on Steam, and then some on other consoles as well. In fact, you could probably find footage for most of the games that I list here somewhere on the YouTube universe if you just search a little bit, no doubt. So these are going to be generally the most popular roguelike games by either just the sheer number of reviews or the highest rated reviews. But I've also included some hidden gems, as I like to call them, and almost all of these are really good games, but I have included some that I really do not recommend, and of course I'll explain why, and we'll show you why. And before we get started, let me know, what are your S-tier roguelike games, or maybe just your top-rated one? Are there any that you specifically don't recommend that didn't click for you? Let me know about those in the comments as well. And of course, if I missed a game that you really wish I rated, let me know, and I'll do my best to respond and let you know what I think of it. Alright, we got 75 roguelikes to go through, so let's get started, shall we? Alright, as we get started, this is just my
made short
opinion.
work of this, yes, I take it, Bobby.
List. If you want to know what the best roguelike games are out there, just check the Steam reviews to get the best idea of it. But as always, when you look at these things, take it with a little bit of grain of salt, especially the games that don't have a lot of reviews. This is really just here to show what I think are the best games, and I played so many of them that at this point, I feel like I know at least a little bit of what I'm talking about. All right, like I said, we're going to have to breeze through them really quickly. I'll stop on the ones that I think are important, but let's get started here. Crown Trick. This one's kind of a hidden gem that I feel like doesn't get a ton of talk. It's kind of a very traditional rogue where it is turn-based on a grid, kind of. When you move, the enemies move, and it's a very nice strategic roguelike, and like I said, it's kind of like the traditional rogue. I'm harkening way back to the actual rogue days. It's a really good game. I love it, and I wish more people would play it. I'm going to drop it in the A to start ourselves off. Check out Crown Trick. All right, 30XX. Now, this is one that I want to like a lot. It is still early access, but I heard it's coming out soon. It is a sequel to 20XX that I didn't really put any time into. I tried it out for like 30 minutes, didn't click. 30XX, tried it out for a couple hours so far, hasn't clicked yet. And I really wanted to because I love the classic Mega Man X games. I really, really do. I'm not certain what's wrong, honestly. I don't know if it just doesn't work in the roguelike formula. I feel like I don't have a lot of enough agency over the run. There's not enough things that happen that let me make decisions, make it feel like I grow more powerful. That's how it feels right now. It's not a don't play, but maybe wait for the release and see how things go. And I'll try to let you know too. Scourgebringer, this is a nice little action one that doesn't get a ton of talk either. I like this one. It's sort of a screen-based, side-scrolling action game. It's not really like anything else that much. It's really nice, but, well, it's nice. It's a nice game. It's not a long stare, but there is a bit more under the iceberg than it first seems, I'd say. I would mostly recommend it. Dreamscaper, this is a game I had a lot of hopes for, a lot of dreams, you might say, even. Because a lot of people touted it as similar to Hades when it first came out. It's really not at all. I mean, it's kind of isometric, 3D, action roguelike. I mean, it is. It's just, I don't know. It feels a bit monotonous. Like, you're kind of running through, you end up sticking with the same equipment a bit too much in the runs, I think, and there's not enough variety. I think it's one of the big things. It has some personality, which is pretty nice. There's not a ton of variety. Wow, look how even we already are. But yeah, I think C is about right for Dreamscaper. Definitely not a don't recommend or anything like that. And like I said earlier, most of these games, 95% of them are going to be games that you probably should check out because they're all very highly rated. Inkbound, this is a brand new one, just came out early access. Co-op, turn-based roguelike. Really strong looking. It got some negative press because it has a cash shop. Not my favorite either. But the gameplay is really on point. It's one to look out for. I'm not going to drop it in S, but it has a ton of promise, honestly. Honestly, this is going to be one to look out for because I think it's going to go really far. Crush the Industry. This one's got so much, I don't know how to describe it, like flavor and attitude. The theming's great. It's a deck builder. So if you like Spire, for instance, you'll probably like Crush the Industry. It has like no attention. I wish more people would check it out, honestly. If you like Wild Frost too, I'd really recommend this one. The runs are like really long though. Honestly though, like a basic vanilla run took me almost 3 hours, and that's definitely on the excessive end of things. But still, it's a really nice game. I think it's a high B. I think it's above Scourge for me, I'd say, because it's got so much character to it, I think. Monster Train. This is a classic deck builder. Now I call it a classic one. It kind of reinvent the club genre, but it definitely took the elements that something like Slay the Spire really built, and it did something unique. It kind of evolved it a little bit and kind of added this, I guess we call it like an auto battlery aspect. It's super complex, but there's a ton of variety. There's a multiplayer mode. It's so good. That's a S tier. It might be on the lower S tier, but I'd call anything S tier as sort of like a must play for me. Whereas everything else is kind of just like, check it out, select what's going to play it. But S tier, you got it. Curse of the Dead Gone. This is another one that was touted as sort of like a bit more like Hades. It's a 3D isometric one, so of course they're going to say that really. The curse system is really cool. The combat system is actually really nice and well done. I think the things that are lacking are the difficulty curve is kind of really steep, and then also I think the variety's a bit lacking, and once you get to the higher difficulties, you're kind of just wading through the same room layouts and strat setups, and it's like a little bit monotonous, and you just kind of get back a little bit. It's still a really strong game. It's a low A for Curse of the Dead God. Yeah, if you like it, certainly check it out. There's really not a ton that live up to Hades, but Curse of the Dead Gods does come close. Ember Knights, this one, a lot of promise. Still early access. It's a top-down pixel art action roguelike. It has co-op on it. It definitely has a lot of promise. There's tons of character in it. The variety is still not really there yet, I think, but there's a lot of bosses and biomes and enemies. There's actually a lot going on there, and it has a weapon system. Honestly, it might be one I'd recommend if you're really looking for something similar to Hades. This one I might be quicker to recommend. It has a lot of promise, but I'm not totally convinced yet. I think it's going to be a B, but I can imagine it going up once we see a 1.0. The runs are kind of long, like 90 minutes. And for an action game, I just feel like that's a bit much. Skull the Hero Slayer. All right, this one was likened to Dead Cells a lot back in the day, at least. I haven't played it in a while. I haven't checked out the updates, but I've heard great things about it. And the skull costumes, I guess you'd call them, all the different skulls they could put on that would turn you into a completely different class was really unique. Very different, very cool in the fact that they can evolve. They just did such a good job with it. My number one gripe that I can remember, at least, was visual clarity. And just, you couldn't really, there's so much going on the screen, you really can't make out heads or tails of everything that's happening. Still a really nice game. I still really like it. I feel like it doesn't hit A for me, but it's, it doesn't quite hit A, but it's definitely probably one of the highest B's at least. Going Under. This is a hidden gem in my eyes. This is a 3D action roguelike with an amazing story. It has a great sense of humor. It's really strong from that point. The combat is kind of almost a little bit like Breath of the Wild. You pick up the objects around you in the office setting, and they break when you move them after a while, or you have to throw them and chuck them, things like that. But it's got just so much character to it. I think the combat system is probably, it's kind of hard to describe it, and the variety isn't a ton, but they got a few different modes that you can try out there. But the story, which is what you don't really get with a lot of roguelikes, is where it's the strongest. I think for me, God, it's just so memorable. I'm gonna give it a low A, I think, for now. I think a low A sounds about right. Revita. This one, not that much attention on it, honestly. I'm kind of surprised. They're working on a version 2.0. It's not early access, not anymore. They're working on a version 2.0, and they said it's enough content to make it a sequel. Please check out Revita. I adore this game. I love this game. It is a 2D side-scroller. It's kind of like, I guess, I don't know, a side-scrolling dungeon-esque kind of game. What a lot of people don't like about it is the fact that you lose your health as a resource to buy more upgrades. And I can understand why you don't love it, but trust me, everything is so well done in it. The art and the music is so good. Please check it out. I'm giving it a low S. That one is a must-play. Shovel Knight Pocket Dungeon. It's like this weird, like, kind of, it's not like a 3-match game. It's more complicated than that. But it's just
I must
not
admit
that
to something,
special.
boy.
It's not a bad game. It's not like a definitely a Void. It's definitely not like that. But it's just kind of monotonous, and there's not enough variety in it. I think. Yeah, Shovel Knight's great, but Gunfire Reborn. Okay, this one was my game of the year 2021. You'll probably get for it. First-person shooter roguelike with amazing co-op. They did such a good job with the co-op in this game. Insane amounts of variety. You don't have to love first-person shooters to like this game. It's probably more akin to, I don't know, Overwatch. You have different heroes have different abilities. You don't have to be a god gamer at games over to like this game. It is absolutely amazing. They keep updating it. We update as well as DLC. You gotta play Gunfire. Despot's game, I like this one quite a bit. It's an auto battler. I kind of like the mode that they had later on a little bit better called Raw mode, which is just faster. It's kind of hard to describe the game, but you recruit humans and then you maybe kind of super auto pet, tiny bit like that, where you get more of the same class, and then you try to get synergy bonuses. That's the best way I can describe it. It's quite unique. They did a good job. It's a pretty nice Yeah, that sounds about right. Rogue Legacy 2. I actually didn't include the first game in this list just because I kind of feel like the second one is almost made the first one redundant. Because they're extremely similar, but the second one just adds so much more to the original formula here. It is just, this game just has an insane amount of content for the price that you pay for. It is absurd how many classes and weapons there are in this game. It's a really strong 2D side scroller. It's not really like Dead Cells. Honestly, if you like the combat of Hollow Knight, I'm not comparing it to Hollow Knight, but it's a similar style to that. You might like Rogue. That one's only that one's a great one. Astral Ascent. This is another 2D side scroller. It has amazing pixel art. The music's really nice too. It's some of the best pixel art I've ever seen. It's still early access. It shows a lot of promise. I feel like it's not, the gameplay and the combat isn't really sending me yet, but it's definitely getting there. I'm not certain what's missing. You like take spells and you add things to the spells, which seems strong. I think it's the combat of itself that for some reason is lacking that I can't quite put my finger on. It's making it not as memorable, but I feel like it's really evolved a lot throughout early access so far, and I think it could get somewhere. I'm gonna give it a high C. BPM, oh my god, bullets per minute. This is a rhythm first-person shooter action roguelike. It has some good qualities to it. The visuals I don't care for one bit, and I think just the overall how do you describe it here? This style of game just doesn't click for me, where you actually have to tap the shoot button to the beat of the music. It's fine for some games that I'll mention later on, but I feel like in a first-person shooter, it just doesn't really work for me. It was alright. It wasn't the worst game I've ever played, but I probably wouldn't recommend it to most people, honestly. Peglin, this one's really good. It's still early access. They've added some classes recently. It's basically Peggle, but in roguelike form, and there's quite a few things going on there. It's goofy, but it's funny. I found myself laughing at how terribly I would make some decisions or just goof up different things, but then it also has this broken build generator aspect where you can get out of control crazy good. It's early access, but it has a lot going on there. Honestly, Peglin, like, you've probably seen it around a lot. That one's going to be a one to keep your eye out on. Alright, you can't read this one, but this is Voidigo with a V. V-O-I-D-I-G-O. Voidigo. So it's a Gungeon-like. It's definitely a lot like Gungeon, but with kind of wacky visuals, and it's kind of got a wacky atmosphere. It is still early access, and I felt like it had a lot of promise, but it hasn't really moved from there, unfortunately. It feels like a really strong game, but I don't know if it's really going to get to the finish line at this rate. I'm kind of concerned about it, to be honest. I'm going to hold out hope. I'm going to give it a low C for now. I'm not going to drop it to the Ds because I feel like it does have promise, but I'm concerned for it. But if you're into Gungeon, take a look at it. Cult of the Land. This one was a big one last year. I think it was last year, right? This one made a lot of headlines. A lot of people played it. A lot of people liked it. The thing is, it's kind of just not a roguelike. Like, you have the dungeon system, and if you die, you have to do the dungeon over again. But there's the whole village thing, and it kind of just doesn't make sense. Really nice game, I think, but it's not just not a roguelike. Getsu Fumiden Undying Moon. This is Konami's side-scrolling action roguelike from a couple years ago, I think. They did start it in early access. It did come to 1.0. Do not play this game. It's not good. It's too bad because they wrapped it in a nice visual package. My guess is that the early access sales did not meet their expectations, and they basically dropped it like a rock, barely added any content throughout early access. It's just lousy. The whole system, the grind that they have for it, it doesn't make sense. It's not good. It feels monotonous. It's not fun. I'm really mad about this game, as you can see. Don't play Getsu Fumiden. Patch Quest. This is a rather new one. I think it's 1.0 by now. I did try it out multiple times, and while I can see it's a nice game, and I have a certain level of respect for it, for some reason it's not clicking for me. It's kind of a creature collector. I think the art style just doesn't resonate with me. It's very cute. It's definitely very cute, but the combat and everything, like, it just isn't capturing me. It doesn't make me want to keep playing it. It's something that I can't quite put my finger on, but there is definitely a lot of visual issues, and it doesn't give me the urge to keep playing it. I think I'm gonna have to drop it down here, which feels bad because it's a really highly rated game that just isn't clicking for me, I guess. Shovel Knight Dig. This one, I'm kind of mad at it. This is another Shovel Knight game because they keep shoveling out the Shovel Knight roguelikes apparently, where you just dig down over and over. And it's, I don't know how else to describe it after that. There are some roguelike, it's definitely a roguelike. You can definitely pick up some upgrades throughout the run, and there's this crazy true ending that's a lot of work to get to, but it's just kind of not worth the effort. The problem is the game just has so little variety. You see repeat stuff way too quickly. It's really not good, I'd say. I would drop this as a, probably just don't play it, honestly. I would pick Pocket Dungeon over it, I think. It was a nice one-off, but it definitely wasn't worth its weight, I think. Luck Be a Landlord. That was kind of an interesting one that's hard to describe. It's kind of like a, I don't know, a slot machine roguelike is the best way you can describe it. It's kind of a deck builder, if you want to use the term loosely. It's a lot of fun for a little while, but it definitely wears out quickly, but you have a lot of fun in the meantime. If you know my drift, I guess. I don't know. I don't know what I'm getting at there. It's a nice game, and it's very cheap. I'd probably recommend it to most people as a quick pickup. Yeah, I think I can see it as a low A. Yeah, it's worth a low A. Dead Estate. I feel like more people should know about this game. It's sort of a isometric dungeon-y game. I would say it's really nice. It actually has a pretty cool story. It's got some nice art in it, if you know what I mean. And I think that it could probably use some more attention. It was originally like a Newgrounds game or something, I think. It's got some cool twists and turns about it. I'm gonna say, give me a high B on Dead Estate. Loot River, this one was so disappointing. Pixel art looks great, animation looks great, it's just so boring. And I think their Tetris system in the rivers just doesn't work, and there's barely any enemies to fight. Total miss, total flub, I don't get it. It's kind of too bad because I feel like it could have been something good. Tape 2 Tape, the hockey roguelike. This one's tough because at first I was kind of like, I'm not gonna like this, I don't like hockey. And then I played it, it's like, I don't like this, I don't like hockey. And then I found myself like, maybe I'll try again though. Maybe I'll do another match. Maybe I'll try another run. It kind of caught me. It caught me a little bit. But honestly, if you're not into hockey or those old school hockey games, it's probably going to be tough to get into. I'm going to drop Tape the Tape right around there. It's not a bad game, that's for sure. Not a bad game. Played Up, the Overcooked roguelike. Really strong, kind of buggy, kind of messy. It has co-op. Things can get really out of control if you play really well, but only if you play really well, I feel. It just has a lot of potential and a lot of potential playtime to it. I think it's really good, actually. It's not an S in my eyes. It's not an S. It's really unforgiving, where it's easy to lose too quickly. I'm not certain if it's even an A for me. You've played up a high B. Yeah, I think that's fair for me. Dome Keeper, really charming, side-scrolling, I guess you could describe it. Kind of like Terraria, roguelike mode, tower defense-y. It's the best way we can describe it. Really charming, great atmosphere to it. Just a nice game all around. I don't think it's quite an S, but it might be one of the higher A's that I have here, I think. Alina of the Arena. This is a deck builder that has this sort of Into the Breach type aspect to it. By the way, I'm not ranking Into the Breach because I have not played it, but I have seen some footage of it, but I haven't played Into the Breach. But Alina is, yeah, it's a deck builder. It's pretty nice. It's pretty good. It's okay. It's definitely not bad. I'd probably recommend it above all of those. I think if you some nice art to it too, I think. Super Auto Pets. It's kind of questionable if this counts as a roguelike because it has the PvP element. Are you doing runs or are you just versing other people? I'm gonna allow it this time. It's free. It's insane. It's insane what you get out of this game, how much they're updating it. There's weekly updates, weekly deck challenges, and they're constantly working on the game, and it's free. And it's on mobile, and it has a very active community. It's ridiculously good. Go play Super Auto Pets. Have a nice death. Really nice side-scrolly. Not really like Dead Cells. Maybe like it might have a similar. It definitely has a similar look to Hollow Knight when you first look at it, probably. I wouldn't say it really feels
Obvious. I saw you
similar
were to
though,
see
but it's
again.
a really nice game. It definitely has its issues. It has
What
like
I
a lot
meant
of
to
strong
say
points,
was-
but some rather
Did you
big
perchance
weak
get the
points too.
impression
I'd
she
say,
had harbours toward me
with
feelings of
namely with balance and
resentment and the
just.
like?
I guess difficulty
You seem
curve
to
is
be a
one
bit of
way
a
I
sore
can
subject,
describe
yes.
it, but it just has
What
so much
happened to the two of
quality.
you?
in there.
Oh,
I think
it's
I'm
just
giving it an
I
A,
almost saved her soul
but I
from
feel
this
like it's not
domain
that
back when
high.
I lived
Yeah, that
engraved.
sounds about right for having
But
nice
in the
stuff.
final moments of my
Forward Escape
rescue,
the Fold.
my
This is
faith
one.
faltered.
I'm probably not going to give it a
She's lost
crazy
to me
high
forever
ranking, but
now.
I wish more people would know
Though I'm
about
pleased
it.
to hear
It's
she
kind of
isn't
a
lost
card
to
game,
you.
but not really. It's more of a turn-based, kind of very
I'll
stripped
have to get
down,
to the bottom of this
simple
later.
adventure RPG, I guess. Really short runs, only like 15 minutes. Great to pick up for just like not even an hour and put it down at any
Night to
point.
protect
It's
me.
nice. Check it out. I'm gonna say, let's drop it in the seas for now. I think that's one that more people, I'm surprised, haven't talked about. Sorry about the cutoff on some of these titles, by the way. Vampire Survivors. So this one really started a big trend. It created its own subgenre, really. The survival roguelike. Also known as Bullet Heaven, sometimes you'll see around, or Broken Build Generator. It did something really, really special at the time of tons of people only spent $3 in this game and put in crazy amounts of hours, right? It's an amazing game, but in retrospect, unfortunately, it kind of cursed itself because it spawned off these games that have taken what it did and that have kind of done it better, unfortunately. But I have a lot of respect for it, obviously. But there's just other games that I'd recommend first, is the way I would describe it. You know what I mean? It was almost so good that so many people wanted to copy it. You know what I mean? And that's what happened. And now we got a few other games that are just a bit easier to recommend first, I think. Wild Frost, brand new, pretty new. Deck building roguelike. It's very unique, even in the deck building universe. It doesn't like copy Spire too much or anything like that. It is amazingly charming and unique. There's a ton of variety already in it, and the devs have spoken out to say that they're gonna add more, but even if it's current state, I love this game. This
looks
one's kind of a
interesting.
hot take because the ratings on Steam aren't high, but I love this game so much. I probably would recommend Monster Train slightly earlier than it, but Wild Frost is so good. It's such a good game. Check it out. Aces and Adventures, another deck builder, but it's based around the traditional 52 deck playing cards and kind of like poker-esque rules, kind of, where you can create hands like pairs and stuff like that. It is quite good, and there's a lot of quality to it, but it's very convoluted is the best way I can describe it. But there's definitely a ton of content there. I think, wow, I mean, maybe my bias is showing with deck builders
Now when
here.
they're paying me already, I
I
got
feel like it
standards to
deserves
uphold, you know?
an okay
I will look
spot
the other way
here.
if you do,
I
mate.
think it's at least a B. I think it's a B. Rogue Tower, the tower defense roguelike. That weirdly, I feel like we haven't really seen any others since this came out. I'm kind of surprised that nothing else has kind of picked up the reins and did what Rogue Tower did better,
Says
because
Kenny.
there's not even a
Don't
speed up
suppose
button
you
in
can-
Rogue Tower.
Nope,
And I'm
not
so
any
mad
of my-
about that, because it could have
Alright,
been so much
maybe I
better
will.
with just a few simple things, you know what I mean? It's still pretty strong, but I probably wouldn't recommend it too fast, I think. But it was a nice playthrough. Little Noah, Scion of Paradise. This is a lesser known one. It's very, I think it's very Dead Cells-y, if I'm remembering it very correctly here. It's a pretty nice game, actually. It was a bit of a surprise for me. Although I admit the visuals kind of weren't my style. It kind of looked like a Square Enix mobile game or something, but it was actually not too bad at all. I think I'll drop it. I think it kind of shoots like right in front of Rogue Tower, at least for me. If you're looking for another action game kind of like that, check it out. Army of Ruin. We're onto the whole, look at this, we got a whole slew of survival roguelikes all of a sudden here. So Army of Ruin is another survival roguelike like Vampire Survivors. I think it pretty much does the same thing as Vampire Survivors, but it does it ever so slightly better. And they are still adding content to it as we speak. I feel like it deserves a low A. It's just barely in front of Vampire Survivors, though. If you just want to experience the original, I totally would get it, though. If you're wondering which one to rate first, you know, you could kind of go either way. Rotato. Now, this is the survival roguelike that did things differently with the shop aspect. Probably slightly similar to something like Super Auto Pets, but also being a survival roguelike. It's just, has a crazy amount of replayability to it. It's absurd. It is absolutely absurd. It didn't click as hard for me, but I definitely have a lot of respect for it, and I did still put in like a crazy amount of hours. More so offline than online, oddly. But Brotato is probably the best survival roguelike in my eyes. 20 Minutes Till Dawn, another survival roguelike. This is one that it felt really strong when it came out, right after the Vampire Survivors Rush, but as time has worn on, I don't feel as strongly about it in retrospect, you know? I'm not quick to suggest it, especially as when games like Brotato and Army of Ruin came out. It's just, I don't know, it's definitely not a bad one, but it's kind of dropped for me a bit. If you asked me like a year ago how I felt about it, I probably would have rated it a little bit higher. I don't know why, but I'm feeling like it's a high C. High C. Backpack Hero. I love this game. It is so good. It's not really a deck builder, but it probably feels like a deck builder. You manage your inventory, and it's a turn-based battle system. Maybe kind of like Darkest Dungeon in that sense, but it is just so unique, and it does it so well. And the music, all the songs are banging. It is such a good game. It is still early access, so I think I'm gonna put it as a, I don't know, I love this game. I love that game. I think I'm gonna put it there, I think. But that one's a must recommend. It is coming out soon if I remember correctly, and I'm sure you're gonna see a lot of footage of it in the coming days. Soulstone Survivors. This is another survival roguelike, excuse me. It does it pretty well though. It kind of did things seemingly differently than the others. I think the main downside to this game is that the performance is quite weak, honestly. But did it do anything that much more special? I don't know. All these games, they kind of, they burn so brightly, but then they burn out so fast at the same time. I think it's a really strong game, so give it to me right there, I think, on Soulstone. Alright, Raven's Watch from the makers of Curse of the Dead Gods. Brand new, kind of Hades-esque action, co-op, roguelike. Just came out in early access. It is looking really strong, but there's not a ton of content right now to be playing with, but it's looking incredibly strong. I'm tempted to give it an A, but it probably doesn't quite deserve an A just because there isn't a ton to do now, but I bet that's going to climb up to an S by the time it launches. In fact, I can practically guarantee it. Tiny Rogues. I believe this is still early access. I'm pretty sure this is a lovely little game. It has a lot of content to it, and there's quite a bit of variety. Lots of classes, lots of weapons. It's really nice. I like this game. I like this game quite a bit. I think it's deserving of an A right now. Possibly the highest of A's. Yeah, let's drop it there. Alright, we had to zoom out a bit here. Neon Echo. This is a newer Dead Cell Z anime-style action roguelike. It's okay. I think it's okay. It's definitely not bad. I don't know if it does anything that differently. There's like the slight rhythm part to it, but it's extremely minor. I think it's a low B because it does show some promise since it's early access. Yeah, that sounds about right. Nuclear Throne. This is a big one. It's a classic to a lot of people. I put in probably like a dozen hours, and I'm gonna be honest, it just never clicked for me. It seems to be like the original dungeon in a sense. It just didn't click for me, like the whole you die so quickly kind of thing. I definitely have a lot of respect for it though. I wish I could have gotten more fun out of it. Maybe, okay, I'm putting in here another dungeon type game. Maybe that's kind of showing something. Crypt of the Necrodancer, and this one's a true rhythm game. It's hard to recommend to a lot of people unless you're into rhythm games. I don't know if I'd be quick to recommend it, but the music is on point. I personally love this game. I would, it's just so hard. It just did something so uniquely. Yeah, that looks about right for Crypt to me. Binding of Isaac. I had a lot of fun with Isaac. I put in like a couple hundred hours of Isaac very quickly. This game is the king of content, the king of variety. You will not run out of things to do in Isaac, kind of in a sense. And cool combinations, crazy insane situations occur in this game. I think the thing that mainly drags it down for me is the aesthetic. Like, the game's old, so I get it, but they definitely went for a certain aesthetic that really did not do it for me. And a lot of other people do, but I still can't deny that it has a lot to it. That's a good spot for Isaac for me, I think. Darkest Dungeon, great turn-based game, but it's not a roguelike, I'm afraid. Sorry. All right, Enter the Gungeon, one of the ones to it. That's a good spot. Definitely went for a certain aesthetic that just really did not do it for me. and a lot of other people an aesthetic that just the aesthetic, like the game in this game, I think crazy insane situations occur in this game. I think the thing that mainly drags it down for me is the aesthetic. Like, the game's old, so I get it, but they definitely went for a certain aesthetic that just really did not do it for me. And a lot of other people too, but I definitely can't deny that it has a lot to it. That's a good spot for Isaac for me, I think. Darkest Dungeon, great turn-based game, but it's not a roguelike, I'm afraid. Sorry. Alright, Enter the Gungeon, one of the ones that started it all. Amazing game, great secrets. Compared to my last tier list, it's probably moved up, honestly. It has way more than it first looks like it has, and the gun variety is just out of control, and trying to get all the unlocks, it has quite a bit of content. It is very unforgiving. It's a very difficult game, so it's kind of wears you out very quickly, I think is how I'd describe it. It's definitely an A. I think I kind of enjoyed my time more with that than Isaac, personally. I think right about here sounds about right for Gungeon for me. Don't Starve Together. Great co-op game. It's kind of questionable if it's a roguelike. If you die, you do lose the world you're trying to build. It's like a base building game in that sense. I don't know, it is a bit questionable, admittedly. If you don't have friends to play with, it's really not going to be fun solo, I think. And if you don't look stuff up, it's going to be kind of hard. I had fun with friends with it, not for a super long time, but it's a pretty nice game. It has a huge fan base to it. It's not a don't recommend, but it just kind of depends, you know what I mean? If you got friends that want to play something that is base building, but it could be kind of unforgiving, check out Don't Starve. Children of Morta. This one actually has pretty nice reviews on Steam, but I just couldn't get it. I played for several hours alone. It just didn't click. I don't know what's going on with it, because I kind of don't get where the reviews are coming from. Some people said, oh, well, you got to play co-op to like it. It's like, oh, well, I can't just always play co-op on some of these games. I need solo to be viable in order to enjoy it, you know what I'm saying? So if